Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, another Therapy Monday. Certainly not a Victory Monday.
Yeah. Well,
the bill's getting expensive. It's an expensive therapy bill.
No, it's free. We're here to offer our services to you for free. As you grieve and as you try to figure out life, we're here for you.
Yeah, who needs real therapy when you got us? That's right.
Can you imagine if we really were a therapy firm?
Yeah.
All right, come here, lay down.
In no time.
That's right.
We get sued.
No one would get better.
Nobody,
they would get worse.
Nobody, man,
Doc, you're screwing me up.
I lost my job. My woman left me. My kids are rebelling.
I'd be screaming at them, "What's wrong with you, you idiot?"
Yeah, snap out of it. I've
By
been
the
in
way,
that funk forever.
Before we get into everything with the show and sports, we have to talk about our lunch, late lunch, early dinner at Sweet Pork Wilson's on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because we had just a stranger join us at the table.
Shout out to him.
Explain.
So
That was awesome.
we were going so Darren Smith was in town who
Did you guys
covers
go
the
there
Chiefs.
before once?
We've been there a few
I've heard of
times.
that
Yeah.
place
Been there a few
before.
times.
We've been there a few times as a group. Earl and I in particular, I think G have been there a number of times. Just
Yeah, I went.
family and stuff.
Yeah, just on random days.
But we were going. Darren Smith was in from Kansas City, and we wanted to take him because he's
Right.
a big barbecue guy. Being
Sure.
from Kansas City.
Give him Cleveland's best.
So he tweeted that he was going there, right? And and we invited a couple of fans of the show to join us, some big fans of the show. So this one random dude shows up, and we thought, oh, he must be one of these fans of the show that we don't really know, but okay, maybe he showed up. Turns out he wasn't a fan of our show at all.
Didn't know
He was a
Never
fan-
heard of any of us.
He was a big Chiefs fan and just wanted to meet Darren.
And hold on, Bill, you're missing the
So how
best
did that
and
go?
worst part.
Go ahead. Sorry, what did I miss?
So we all agreed, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I get there at 2:58. No one else but this random guy shows up till 3:30.
Yeah.
So guess
Oh,
what?
wow.
I talked to this guy who was nice enough, named Patrick, for 30 minutes. I had no idea who he was. He had no idea who I was. I was at a big table. He's like, "Are you here for the meetup?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess technically I get to meet up. This kind of our event. He's like, yeah.
This could have been a scene from a movie.
And by the way,
Two dudes sitting at a big table. Are you here for the meetup?
it's
Yeah.
so funny because when I pulled up,
Pause.
I parked behind this car, and the car in front of me says T. Kelsey 87 on the license plate.
Yeah.
It had Chief stuff all over the car.
Yeah.
Ohio tag?
No, you know what? I didn't
Well,
remember.
that guy lives
He
here.
lives here.
So it must have been Ohio. Yeah,
lives
I
here.
take that in.
He lives
I
here.
just noticed the Travis Kelsey. And I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, who's this? What a coincidence that we're here.
Maybe Trav and Taylor are here for barbecue.
Right. I actually thought that for a second. And then I was like, no, that car's a piece of crap. I don't.
Yeah, that's probably not
car.
his.
But, there he was. So what was his name again?
I'm pretty sure it's Patrick.
And
And that's when we had to make sure that everybody got individual bills because I'm not paying for this random stranger.
So we do like a big group picture at the end. My man just rolls in the picture.
He's got the picture.
Now-
picture.
We have the picture. We'll show you the picture.
I didn't even get in the picture.
Did our man
I'm
from
like
Kansas
hidden.
City show up?
Yeah, Darren's
Yeah,
in the
Darren,
middle.
right there.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
We know everyone else in the picture but the random white guy in the back. with the Chiefs hat.
Yeah, there he is.
Everyone else we know.
All the way to the
Shout out
back.
to-
Zoom in.
Shout out to Jay. Shout out to X. Trell was there. Like we know the other guys on the left that aren't part of the show.
Yeah.
And that grown-ass man on the right, that's Jason Lloyd's kid. Yeah. Supposedly. I need to figure something. We got
He's
to
been
figure this
taking
out.
steroids since he's
We
four.
got to figure something out here, Jason.
I resent that.
I'm Marv Marinovich, man. I'm training him right.
That dude's voice is he's got the deepest voice I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
And he doesn't eat, by the way. That's why he's so
It's
skinny.
crazy.
He doesn't
Kid don't eat.
He's
Yeah.
very,
He
very
likes
picky.
cornbread though.
He likes
Wow,
cornbread.
okay.
Shout out to the cornbread.
So that should be his nickname, Cornbread
He-
Maxwell.
He and G got together. It was hysterical because he was devouring the cornbread.
He
She's
was
like,
awesome,
you
man.
give it to black people, we'll change your taste.
Hey, listen, you come over here, bro, and black people all of a sudden open his eyes like,
Where's your collard greens?
this is what we've been doing.
He wants all of it now.
He wanted the whole thing. I said, no, hey, some of it we'll let you borrow, but some of it you keep that to you. That'll work better.
Cornbread
for you over
works.
Here. Cornbread, don't leave
Multicultural.
leave the rest of the stuff alone.
So a good time, basically.
We did have a good time.
Yeah. Now that's exciting. The Kansas City Chiefs had a good time. yesterday.
Man, just
That was something, wasn't it?
nasty work.
That was
Nasty
interesting.
work, man.
Well, let's dive into all of it. We'll start, as always, like we do every Monday, with some shotgun reactions. And our shotgun reactions today are brought to us by FanDuel. You can tackle all the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Both shotgun reactions. You're up first.
Yeah, I know we're going to get to Kevin Stefanski next, so I'll leave that part of it alone. Initially, my first reaction was the offense obviously was terrible, and the defense was okay. I actually watched the game again, and the defense actually played really well in this game, I thought. 2 of the 3 touchdowns were short fields. I think the Chiefs only drove more than 50 yards once in this game. And I didn't think Patrick Mahomes played a particularly good game. He was 50% in throwing. And I know they took their foot off the gas at the end. But I thought the defense played pretty well. But obviously it's been inconsistent all year. The offense was terrible. Since Jameis took over, it's been up and down in terms of the offense. Some games really good, some games really bad. The interceptions in this game were particularly awful. I think he's now 3rd in the league in interceptions, even though he's only played half the season. So, obviously, that's a big problem. We'll get more in depth on that when we talk about Jameis. But I thought the Browns were lifeless. I thought they were, again, coached poorly. If we're going to talk about Kevin Stefanski's Coach of the Year all the time, this year he's a candidate for Worst Coach of the Year. He's done a terrible job this season. And the team is undisciplined. The penalties are terrible. The pre-snap penalties are... The Browns have by far the most in the league in both penalties and pre-snap, or just in pre-snap penalties, excuse me. There's not much I could say about the offense besides Jerry Judy played well, and for a rare time, Jerome Ford actually played well. That's about it.
I didn't have a reaction. I'm just done.
Yeah. You don't even want to watch the game. I mean, at this point, who wants to even watch the game?
I mean,
I forced myself to watch it just so I would be able to talk about it.
I'm there because I'm getting paid to be there. That's the only reason I'm there. I wouldn't watch that. They're down 14-0. It might as well have been 42-0. It was a game that on the scoreboard they weren't really out of it, but they were never in it. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
I thought the same thing, Jim.
Yeah, they ain't going to win this game. They got no chance of winning this game. On the scoreboard, they're right there. Mm-hmm. They were never going to win that game. You turn the ball over 6 times is ridiculous. We talked on Friday about how are you going to win this game? You have to win the turnover battle. Well, they gave it away 6 times. Most turnovers since 1993, the glorious Todd Philcox era.
To follow up on that, by the way, yesterday both the Browns and Titans turned the ball over 6 times. No other team has done it once this year, which is crazy. And the Chiefs had only had 10 takeaways on the season.
Yeah.
10 on the season going into yesterday's game.
And the Browns gave it to him 6. So I left kind of like numb and all right, whatever. 3 to go. Thankfully, I think that's the last game I have to go to. I ain't going to the last 3.
Yeah, there's no real point.
So I'm done with the games. But I just left kind of numb and like I don't have a big reaction.
Yeah, I was tired. I was sleepy. I was dozing in and out of the game. I had to rewind some plays. I woke up and Jerome Ford was scoring. I said, "What? Okay, let me rewind this." And then I realized that was the only time they was going to get any money. And like Jason said, we are now back to the some of those 2014-15 teams where you had RG3 and McCown and, you know, every single week it's a talking point. Well, we gotta get better. We're just trying to win a football game. Stop all that, bro. Y'all are looking at a home remodeling. All of this noise about that we about to just plug one guy in here and do this and then it's going to be better. No, you have massive issues. It's kind of like when you're younger and you get your first credit card and then you max it out and you're like,
then the bill comes.
And then a bill comes. And then you realize, hold on, I'm not getting paid no extra money at work. So how am I going to afford to pay that money and pay the rest of them? And then you're like, okay, well, let me go to a cash day payday advance and make it worse. And then there's that moment of reality that hits you like there's no squirming out of this one. You got to bite the bullet. And it's going to be some tough decisions being made around here. Something getting cut off, so you better get ready, prepared for it, because you can't even borrow that much money. You got money going out quicker than it's coming in. And it's like that with the Browns. I'm sitting there watching the Browns on TV, and it's that cold reality that you don't got a quarterback. And there's not really a great way of getting one. You're old. You don't have playmakers. You second guess whether you even got the right coach or general manager. And the worst part about it, the guys that you thought were the pillars of your organization, they now look regular. Nick Chubb's hurt again. Offensive line is getting older. Myles Garrett is back to being the only playmaker. You don't know what's going on with JOK. And you don't have very many guys you can even hang your hat on to say, yeah, at least we got that guy. Man, it's some cold, hard reality going about this thing. And as watching the game, it just dawned on me, like, you need so much, but you ain't even got the capital to even get that much. It's gonna be a long summer, winter, fall. It is what it is.
It's like you're trying to dig out of a hole with a broken shovel. You can't get out. There's 3 players that are worth keeping. That's it. Jerry Judy, Myles Garrett, and Denzel Ward.
See, you see that? That was cold. Because I was thinking the same thing.
Who else do you want?
The Nick Chubb thing hit me cold last night. I said,
it's over. Now, actually, the broken foot might have been the best thing for him staying in a Browns uniform.
Right, but
I don't see it.
Yeah,
now, it's Nick Chubb. The foot will heal. Next year, he'll be a year removed from the ACL, which we've talked about. That's a big difference. So he might be in that list of guys. But you said it's a home renovation. It's a teardown. And I don't even know if the lot is worth building a new home on.
you did it on top of a dumpster.
It's on an Indian burial ground.
It's on something that occurs.
Yeah.
Now, something hit me yesterday. I don't know. I saw a picture. Somebody sent me a picture of the crowd in the middle of the first quarter.
I think it was Mike.
Somebody
or
sent
Jason,
one.
maybe?
Jason sent it. I asked about this.
Yeah, it was
Jason
right
sent
around
the picture.
kickoff.
I was like,
Darren sent something too. Like,
wow.
What's going on?
That's it? You're going to build a new stadium with astronomically higher prices and seat licensing fees. And that's what you're drawing?
You chase it out, and you're going to chase out all the regular fans who can't
All of the regular, and they're the diehards, Bull.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that want to go, but you're going to price them out.
Yep.
And the people that have money are going to be too smart to spend it on that dumpster fire. So, as I was watching the game and sort of just taking inventory of, okay, is this the lowest place that they've been? I mean, I know we had an 0-16. I get that.
I said a few weeks ago this is worse.
I agree, Jason. So what started me thinking about that was during the course of the broadcast, it was mentioned that 19 of the seasons since the Browns have been back, what is that, 25 seasons? Is this the 25th
25.
season?
Yeah, that's 25.
19 of the 25, they've lost double digits.
I thought, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
19.
I heard
26. It's 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
19.
That's wild.
So a friend texted me this after the loss 2 weeks ago and said, there's 5 ways to categorize franchises. And I wanted to run this by you guys and get what you think, because I think there's only one answer to this. There's championship, which right now is the Chiefs because they have the crown. Mm-hmm. Then there's contender, and there's a group of about 8 to 10. Mm-hmm. You might be able to extend that. Mm-hmm. Then there's average. Then there's below average. Then there's perennial loser. We are the 5th category of those possibilities. We are perennial loser, probably doormat of the league. Is there a worse franchise over the last 25 years?
No, because Detroit's figured it out.
Right.
They have figured it out.
Cleveland
By the way, with one of the guys they've figured out with is our old GM.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets are right there, but whatever.
The Jets are there. You're right. They're right there.
Yeah.
But I think
they've at least gone to 2 AFC championship games in the last 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, they've done something.
Yeah.
They did have the Rex Ryan blip.
Yeah.
You know how we looked at Indiana football in the Big Ten up until this year? That's Cleveland. That's the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if they're that good. I would say if you're going to compare them to the Big Ten, you're going to compare them to Northwestern, or not even Northwestern.
Northwestern gets to Rose Bowls every
I don't know who you compare them to.
Purdue.
It's Indiana.
And so
Illinois.
What I'm trying to figure out, how do they get out of this? What is the path forward?
Yeah.
And about the time I'm thinking about that comes a report that we're going to talk about later from Mary Kay Cabot that says the team. I'm not going to be able to say this.
You can't say it with a straight face.
I can't say this with a straight face. The team is considering bringing Deshaun Watson back to compete for a starting job next year.
Oh, my God.
And so what I realize is, if I'm going to use your analogy, we're not just a house in need of repair or a total renovation or a total tear down or maybe a new lot. We need a new contractor. Because you can tear the house down, which we've done, and we've rebuilt it with the same contractor, Jimmy Haslam, and it's been a piece of shit every time we've rebuilt it. So I have no light at the end of the tunnel.
No.
I have zero hope that this owner will ever figure it out.
That's fair.
And watching the Bills last night, and I'm going to admit this, and people will say you've never been a real fan if you can say that. I'm this close to switching. And I've never even, when people have told me in the past, I gave up on them. I'm like, you suck. You're not a fan. You never were a fan. But the definition of insanity is when you know what it is.
Yeah.
And I've done that for 50 years. I wake up and I'm like, it's a new day. And it's not. It's not a new day. No. It's the same shitty day.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog's Day.
I like when Jake
the
curses.
worst case scenario.
And I'm done. I'm watching Buffalo, and I'm like, okay, they score every time they touch the football.
It seems like it.
They dismantled one of the best teams in the NFL in their building.
Remember when a lot of people in the beginning of the year thought, well, the Bills lost all their receivers. They're not going to be good.
There was a moment when
Jay.
I was almost out on their quarterback.
Yep.
You know what I figured out? The offensive coordinator was the problem. And you know what I figured out? We hired him.
Well, Jay, it's a great segue.
Wait, real quick, I promise. Less than 30 seconds before we move on, just to answer Jay's question about is this the worst ever. I'll give you two things about this Browns team that has never been there before that make it even worse now than all the other losing.
So you're in with us.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Worst it's ever been.
One, the salary cap situation. They've never been in this. Yeah. All the other losing,
they had
you could always say, well, they had plenty of cap space because they had nobody to pay. They going in as of now for the start of next year are over the cap more than every team but one in the league.
Now I've always said, guys, there's going to be a time, and then we've kind of talked ourselves into that's a mythical.
Well,
thing.
if they were good on some level, you can keep pushing through, but they're not. So
right.
You can't. Number two.
So the cap is a concern because there are still people out there that say, you're not in cap hell.
No.
No, we're in cap hell.
They owe $170 million to a quarterback who can't play.
Yes, that's cap hell.
And number two, guys, this is the really painful thing, is that this regime for a moment made us think that the years of Drek were over.
Yeah, you're right.
You thought, okay, if they have a bad season, they'll be normal bad. Like they were, 2 years ago, they finished
10-7.
Well, no.
7-10. They were 7-10.
7-10, right? Like, okay, it's a bad season, but it's not a disaster. And now it's back.
Yeah.
Now
number
it's back.
one pick. They're in the conversation for the number one overall pick.
They're one game behind the worst record in football. They're 3-11.
Who saw that
Two
coming?
teams are 2-12. None of us did.
Right, but right now they have the 6th pick in the draft.
Now Jacksonville is one of the 2-12s, right?
No,
or are they
the
3?
Giants and the Raiders are both 2-12.
Giants and Raiders,
and they lost
both
to both
beat
of them.
us.
So they did that right.
No, that doesn't matter though.
It doesn't. So if we've all finished high, that head-to-head never comes into play.
It matters in record. They did a good job by losing to those teams.
It matters in record, yes.
Congratulations. Good job losing to
You
those
didn't screw up and win one.
The first tiebreaker for draft pick is strength of schedule.
Oh.
Whoever's got the lowest, the worst strength of schedule.
We have one of the toughest, right?
Yes. The Browns, as of now, I believe, have the hardest strength of schedule amongst the 3 and 11 teams.
Okay.
Which means they pick lower.
So right now, we pick third.
Hey,
No. The lower strength of schedule gets you near the top.
Oh,
because essentially you have the same record against an easier schedule.
Don't say Deshaun never gave you nothing. He gave you losses to the Giants and the Raiders.
That's true.
Boost
That's
that
very
draft
true.
stock.
Thanks, D.
All right,
Appreciate
let's get a
that.
reading because I want to start today's conversation with the head coach of the football team. But first, it's that time of the year again, guys. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it is guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show, presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then it's Clemson looking to upset Texas in a showdown at 4 p.m. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and HBO Max.
I can't wait. I mean, as one football season ends, how weird is that? The pro football season for us is over, and now we can shift to a
Dive into
playoff
college
season in
football.
college football.
Yeah.
Wow.
So last week, Jay, I know you weren't here, but we had Jeremy Fowler on the show right after he wrote his article, which came out on Wednesday, where
love
Jimmy
Jeremy.
Haslam essentially said he believed Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are the right pieces in place. Fowler said he's talked to Haslam as he was leaving the owners' meeting, and that was the sentiment that the owner felt he had the right head coach and general manager moving forward, essentially gave him the vote of confidence for 2025. However, we saw how yesterday's game went. And, Jason, I want to start with you, and we could go from there. If the final 3 games of the season go like yesterday did, and the Browns end the year at a 3-14 record, can Kevin Stefanski survive that and be the head coach of this team in 2025?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he will. But I'm not going to argue with anyone who wants him fired. Like, listen, he's had a terrible year. You want him fired? Okay. I'm not going to argue that. I don't think he's the biggest problem, but he by no means has had a good season. Nobody in that building's had a good year. And I just would caution on making an overreactionary decision to one horrific year. And it was funny. I was thinking about this driving in. I remember going on your show, Adam, the last year that the Cavs were together, and everybody wanted Ty Lue fired. And everybody said Ty's a terrible coach, and he's the problem, and da-da-da-da-da. And I kept saying, guys, Ty's not the problem. Ty's the one holding it together. I'm not going to go that far with Kevin and say Kevin's the one holding it together, but look where Ty Lue is today. He's one of the top 5-6 coaches in the NBA, and he's in the running to be Team USA's head coach. Like, he's one of the most widely regarded, highly respected coaches, and people in Cleveland couldn't wait to get him out of here. And I feel like with Kevin, again, I'm not going to go as far as to say he's the one holding it together, but I don't think that he's the massive problem. And I can just tell you around the league, he is still highly regarded and widely respected as if they fire him, it's going to be a mistake. He's going to land on his feet, and he's going to have a very nice career. Am I calling him the next Belichick or Mike Tomlin? No, I'm not. But I don't think he's the issue here. But I can't defend what we've seen. You know, I think that the biggest problem, they broke an offense that didn't need fixed. And they threw out the offensive coordinator, the entire staff, and they brought in a staff, and it didn't work, and it hasn't worked. And they're stuck with this offense that was never his offense, and you're stuck with a quarterback now who throws nothing but interceptions. It's a bad spot to be in, and there's no easy way out of this. Like, you just have to put your head down and get through it. And if they come out next year and they don't play well, then they'll probably fire him. I would not fire him. I've been a big supporter of his since he's been here. I still think he's a good coach. And it's not just the Coach of the Year awards. I see him in that building, and I see how the people respond to him. I was talking to a player yesterday. I can't say who it is because it will give away. I was talking to a player who said, like, I've played for bad coaches. I've played for and if I say who that is, you'll know who I'm talking about more than likely.
Yeah.
And said, he's not that. Like, he is not the issue that we have going on here. And there's a lot of players that feel the way. I'm sure there's guys in there that would like to see him fired. I have no doubt. It's hard to keep 53 guys happy. I'm sure there's guys in there like, man, we got to move on. But from the people that I talk to, I don't think he's lost the locker room. And I do think that he is, I've talked about it before, the steady, even hand that they need when you have an emotional, overreactionary ownership group like they have. But if people want to stand up here and say, you got to fire this guy, I can't really argue that. I'm just telling you I wouldn't do it.
I don't know about. I haven't changed my tune. I still think I know who the problem is. I think the problem is Paul DePodesta. His name never comes up. People do digging. People talk about the organization, and everybody's like, oh, Stefanski and Berry are fine. Here's what I've decided. If we're going to take a hands-off approach to Paul DePodesta, and no one's going to hold him accountable, the media doesn't seem interested in what he does or how poorly he does it. If that's where we are, then Andrew Berry has to be fired immediately, right now. I've always shielded. I do believe Andrew Berry could be a good general manager in the right organization. Not here. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many voices in his head on draft day. Too many decision makers above him. He's the general manager. They have someone called the chief strategy officer who lives in California and made his living as a mediocre baseball man and built a legacy on a mythical Moneyball that was a farce. And Jimmy's buying what he's selling. So if Paul DePodesta is out of this conversation, and for this one he is, then Andrew, I'm sorry. I really like this guy. And I really think he's not done in the league. I think he'll go to another team, and I think he'll get another chance. And I do think he can be a good general manager. But I have to hold him responsible for the absolutely horrific drafts that we've had. I have to, because I can't hold Paul DePodesta responsible because he's off limits. So Andrew Berry has to go. There absolutely has to be a change at the top. And I hate saying that because in a real world, I think it would be Paul DePodesta has to go. And Andrew Berry could stay and see what he could do without someone meddling from California. But we're not going to get that, apparently. So if DePodesta is entrenched, then let's try a new general manager. And let's hope he has more power and say when it comes to who are drafted, which players are drafted on draft day.
That's a no for you on Stefanski. You would keep him.
I agree completely with Jason on Stefanski. I believe he can be a great head coach in this league in another organization. You know the analogy I used. He's a good seed in toxic soil. He can't bloom here. He won't bloom here. He's under 500. We've seen him now for 5 years. We know what he is. He gets a good year, he gets a bad year. He gets a good year, he gets a bad year. There's no continuity. There's no consistency. There's no building year to year to year like organizations tend to do, like what's going on in Detroit. They've gradually got better to where they're now in the conversation of one of the best teams in the league.
Although oddly, Dan Campbell made one of the all-time dumb moves.
He's done he's had a couple of those.
Can't blame analytics for that one. There's no way analytics should kick that onside kick.
No. But all that being said, I'm ambivalent on Kevin Stefanski. Like Andrew Berry, I think he can be a good general manager. I think Kevin Stefanski can and will be a good head coach with an organization that gives him tools and then gets the hell out of his way. But if you've got people meddling and telling you that what offense to run and what coordinator to hire and what to play on third down and how many carries your running back should get, you're doomed to fail.
Well, I guess it's time for me to go as I sip my coffee. You know, Kevin Stefanski, I believe, is middle-of-the-road coach. I think you can find people that got better X and O's. I think you can find people who motivate the players a little bit better. I also think you can find people that are way worse than he is. I mean, they just fired somebody in Chicago. That was laughable. I think he's better than a lot of these different coaches that we see get run out of town. Here's the problem. At some point, you know, when I used to work in different jobs and be in middle management, at some point you are responsible for your team. You can have a lot of extenuating circumstances, but you're held responsible for when people don't show up to work. You're held responsible when their production's down. You're held responsible for disciplinary actions. You're responsible for a lot of things. And when you go before the executive team and you go in front of your boss, they don't say, listen, I know you had COVID. COVID was a thing. We still had evaluations during COVID. We still had revenue meetings during COVID. Every place in this world has those meetings that you got to get down to that say, look, I know you had extenuating situations, but the bottom line is this. He's now under 500. His teams have been penalized at the highest levels. We still can't line up. Every year every year we have to jettison somebody. This year was Amari Cooper. At one point in time, it was Odell Beckham Jr. Another time, it was Jarvis Landry. Another time, it's the pass rusher. What's his name? Jadeveon Clowney. Every single year, at the end of the year, we got somebody who's either disgruntled, has a problem, or we just simply have to send people home or sit them down on the bench and make them inactive. Jed Wills. So these are all things. It's smoke there. I think that Kevin Stefanski could be a good coach somewhere. I think, to me, if you ask me, he's a better coordinator than a head coach. I think if he was all in on as a coordinator, I think he would be a better coordinator than he would at a top-level head coach, because I don't think I'm not going to say people don't respect him. I just think that he has a problem sometimes having difficult conversations. If you're a leader and you want a job and you understand how difficult it is to get a job in this league, you have to say certain things and do certain things to let ownership know, listen, I'll take an L somewhere else. I could do bad by myself. So if you want me to do X, Y, and Z, you want my staff fired, you telling me what I can run on third down, at some point in time, you have to have pushback, because it's going to fall on you. The narrative soon will be that you're not good enough. And I said it 3 years ago. We do it a lot in this town. At one point in time, we said it was Odell, then we said it was Baker, then it was Baker's injury, then we couldn't bring him back, and then it was Deshaun, and it was Deshaun injuries. Now it's Jameis. He throws too many interceptions. We don't know what DTR is. At some point, when the players keep having issues, that stuff falls on you. So, if they end the season with 3 wins, that's not good enough, because this team was talked about as Super Bowl caliber, rightly or wrongly. I think we overestimated a lot of stuff. But 3 wins in a 17, 18 game schedule is unacceptable. Three wins and you're paying the most money in the league? You're paying the most. Your roster has the most. You're giving out contracts left and right, and you have the worst record about any of the contenders. Could it be a little unfair that Kevin loses his job? Sure. Could Andrew Berry lose his job? Sure. I think both of them are working every single day to prove that they should keep their jobs, because the reality of the situation is we have to make a decision. With a top 10 pick, do you have trust in Andrew Berry to pick the right guy? Do you have trust that if they pick the right guy, Kevin Stefanski will implement a system that best makes this guy turn into a superstar? And do they have the ability to even identify the next quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? Because as we're looking, it's been a lot of swings and misses. We could say you got the best out of Baker, but no, actually you didn't get the best out of Baker. He's playing better in Tampa. You can say, oh, Jameis Winston, yeah, Jameis, he showed you that Cinderella slipper fell off. Deshaun Watson, he's playing terrible. DTR, I don't see it in DTR. We'll talk about it later on. And some people say you misevaluated Flacco because you should have kept him. So my thing is, I don't see the track record where you're going to get a guy and bring him in here, and this young guy is going to turn into Joe Burrow or some of these other people.
So you fire both?
I think both of them on the hot seat. I'm ready to tear the building down.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not in the building. Jason is occasionally. But we don't have all the facts, right? We don't know what's true. I don't know how much Jimmy meddles on a day-to-day basis. We've heard things. We know some. But I don't know on a day-to-day basis how much involved, or Paul DePodesta. I'd love to get rid of both of them. I'm in favor of forcing Jimmy to sell the team. I'm in favor of Paul DePodesta being fired. But I'm just going to talk about what I know about Kevin Stefanski, and I'll say this. In 25 years in this business, including now almost 14 here in Cleveland, whenever I've talked about firing a coach or a manager, I've always felt certain in my feelings. I was always like, definitely fire him, definitely don't fire him. I never have had any doubt. This is the first time I've ever had doubt. I think in the end, though, Kevin Stefanski should be fired. And I don't say that easily in this case, because there is part of me that's saying, no, it's what I always say. There's 4 great coaches and there's 4 terrible coaches. Everybody else is in the middle, and probably if you give them enough years, they'll get better and better and better, and that's where I think Kevin Stefanski is.
Agreed.
But every time I ask somebody, and I know Jason said it's not just this, every time you ask somebody, is Kevin Stefanski a good coach, all they say is he's won 2 Coach of the Years. There's never any explanation. There's never anything else. What is it? The penalties have consistently been a problem his entire tenure. They've won 1 playoff game in 5 years, and he wasn't there. A couple of years ago, the narrative was, okay, he makes quarterbacks better. He doesn't, as you said. Every quarterback that's played for this team has played better in other places, except for maybe Jacoby Brissett. So he doesn't make those guys better. There's been very little development of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Who's been developed in this offense? Want to say Cedric Tillman? I played well for a couple of weeks, but he's been hurt. I don't know. Jerry Judy, he's played great. The talent was always there. Jameis is firing the ball around 1,000 times. Okay, he's done a nice job. Ultimately, and I'll tell you something that really pissed me off yesterday, because this is something that the losing coaches do. And Kevin Stefanski complaining about the officiating, to me, is a loser mentality. I don't like when coaches do that. I thought him complaining about he thought we got screwed on the pre-snap. Shut up, Kevin. You've done a terrible job. Your front office has done a terrible job. Your players have done a terrible job. G is right that there's always some sort of player issue. Why? How come every time a player leaves here, there seems to be anger towards the team? We see that constantly with this team. And yeah, I don't know if they can ever get it right because of Jimmy, because of DePodesta. But it doesn't mean you just say, well, okay, you might as well stick with the guy. And the final reason why ultimately I think you should fire him is something Jason said. And that's the fact that if he gets off to a bad start next year, he's going to get fired. So why wait? If you're in that position, let's say they draft a quarterback now, and then they get off to a bad start, which they probably will next year if they're going with a rookie or a bridge quarterback. And then Kevin Stefanski gets fired 5 games in the next season or halfway. Now you got another coach coming in. He didn't necessarily like the quarterback.
And you stunt the growth of the new quarterback.
Right, and maybe he doesn't like that quarterback. Then he wants to go in a different direction.
Yep. That whole we're sitting in week 5.
So if you're going to do it, you do it after the season.
And again, it doesn't give me pleasure to say fire Stefanski. I'm not 100% sure. I'm really not 100% sure I'm right about this. I have defended this guy time and time again, but I'm just done. This season's been absolutely pathetic. And just because he happened to have some surprise seasons where they ultimately did nothing when it mattered, so he won Coach of the Year, even though he was never the best coach in the league those years, that's not enough to save him for me.
And we'll trust me. I'm not sitting here, and you know me, I like to be definitive. I'm like, I ain't going to fence ride. I feel this way, and if I change my mind, I'm going to tell you I changed it. Listen, I'm not sitting here saying that I even know if that's the best move.
I
think we're all there.
I'm 55-45. Like, and that changes a lot, too. Like,
well, G, real quick, because you mentioned that number. I'll put it in the chat. We have over 700 votes on this, so this is a pretty big sample size. If the Browns finish 3-14, should Kevin Stefanski be fired as the Browns coach? What do you think the chat says?
Probably
you know the chat better than anyone else.
If they finish 3-14,
3-14, so they lose the last.
I don't think it matters.
I
think
it's like, what do you think the chat?
I think they're 80%. He has to go.
52-48.
No.
Wow.
You must be looking. It's exactly 52-48, but 52% no, keep him. 48% fire.
Wow. God.
700 votes in the chat.
Well, these are the people that Jimmy Haslam is relying on to buy tickets every year. No,
people will buy tickets.
Right. Like
Jimmy hears stuff like this. Yeah, I'm the most popular owner in town, according to the diehard sports fans. This is the mentality that allows him to keep doing what he's doing.
The Browns should be the least popular team in town.
I used to think this, but I've been doing a lot of digging, and some of it is anecdotal, but listen, man, this new generation that's coming up behind all these Browns fans, it's different. Like, there's a lot of people that, like, when they say they checking out, they're not just checking out on that. They checking out on the whole thing. They're like, yo, I could go do something else and be in another industry. Like, I'll watch. Like, nowadays, there isn't. Before, it used to be that badge of honor where it was like, oh, I had season tickets this long and I've been watching this terrible team, but look how loyal I am.
You sure?
That ain't happening no more.
People, that badge of honor is turning into a dunce cap. I feel like an idiot.
Like, they're like, young people's like, I'm not about to do that. I'll go root. Like, Dusty got kids, right? They find a person.
His son's a Bills fan.
Find a good team that wins and it's fun to watch. These people is out of here.
You know, to your point, my oldest is 22, and when he was coming up through, when we were kids, it was just Browns jerseys.
That's it.
All you wore
to
school was Browns jerseys. When my oldest was coming up through school, it was every team but Browns. It was Aaron Rodgers or Ben Roethlisberger or whoever. You know, it was all these other jerseys. It was not. And
Kids don't sign up to be losers. They don't want anything to do with
I
that.
said previously, I feel like the Browns, I don't like speaking like in dramatics like this, but it feels like they're losing a generation of fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and I mean, you guys know AJ's 14. He's becoming a diehard Browns fan, and he hates them. Like, he loves them and he hates them already. But the older, like the 21, 22, 23, 24,
it's easier for them to say, I'm out.
when they have disposable income 10 years from now, are they going to buy season tickets on the Browns?
No.
Yeah.
Some will. Some will.
And you know what?
But not like at our age.
Where you had no
They
choice.
ingrained in us.
You know,
You had no
now that
choice.
you guys say it, first of all, you could see more games, you see more highlights,
Sure.
you see other teams. My son has like 15 good friends. I'm thinking about it. I don't think I've ever seen any of them wear Browns gear. Not a single
They
one.
don't.
They don't
that I
even
can
talk
remember.
about them. They don't even talk about them.
One of his friends came over the house the other day. He's wearing like a Michael Jordan North
Well,
Carolina
think about it,
shirt.
with all the alternatives, and you
Yeah.
said now we can see everything.
Yeah.
With all the alternatives, why would you go to the store and look at everything that's available or on the internet and say, give me the perennial loser jersey?
with not
I want
particularly
to
good
identify.
colors.
I want to with horrific colors.
Yeah.
I want to identify with that.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
I just think is my oldest Alex, as his generation grows up, gets married, has a family, you start to make a little bit of money, you start to have, you have play money that you can do things with.
Expendable income.
How many of them are going to buy Brown season tickets or go to Browns games?
especially at the inflated price if they move to Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a today problem. It's a 10 years from now problem that I don't.
Yeah.
I think that they could be in. I think they could be in
And
trouble.
you know what's fascinating? And Jay, you'll know this because you lived in the New York area for a while. When I first moved here, and now I'm used to it because obviously I've been here a long time, but when I worked in New York, I would shit all over the New York football teams. And even though I'm from New York, I'm not, as you guys know, a New York football fan.
Right.
And I would crap on the football teams or the baseball teams, whatever. People never got mad at me for that.
It's a different fan base.
It is so different,
Yeah.
here. And I know part of it's that I'm not from here. That's a minor thing. But fans are more defensive of the team, especially the Browns. I think part of that is the team being stolen from here in 95.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of it. But they're a little more defensive of the team, even when they deserve to get crushed. And I won't even compare it to like Yankees or Giants fans, because those fans are spoiled. But the New York fans that are Mets and Jets fans, they're not spoiled. Their
No.
teams haven't won anything. And usually those teams go together.
And their little brother in that market.
Exactly.
So it's even worse.
And
It's not
so-
like they're in their own market.
But I used to crush the Mets all the time when in the 3 years I was working in New York City. And I never once got a call like being defensive about the team. And I hate the Mets. Hate them.
It's because they agreed with you. They're smart fans. They get it. I think our fan base is really interesting. We're loyal, which can be a good thing. But when the product is consistently awful and you're loyal, you are rewarding bad behavior.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's human nature to say, well, if that's what you're going to do, I'm going to take advantage of it. Jimmy has rightly staked his claim to this market and said, these people, I can give them an 0-16. They're going to give me a parade. They're going to keep coming back. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah.
At what point do they wake up and demand better from him? He is the guy that is the problem.
5 head coaches since
Yeah.
2012, since he bought the team in
Yes.
2012.
Yeah, and
5 head coaches.
So as long as the rot is at the very top, the rot is going to trickle down.
But there'll be a lot of fans that will argue just because he spends a lot of money, which he does, is the only thing he does
Poorly.
well, that he's at least trying, and they defend him because of that. Because for fans, and that's the reason they hate the Dolans, and listen, we've killed the Dolans for not spending $1 million.
We have.
But because that's the only part of ownership that the fans can see, really, or know about,
Yeah.
is the spending. So fans often think that that's it. The only thing you could judge an owner on is how much they spend.
Yeah, well, that's misguided.
and obviously that's
so
part
not
of it,
true.
sure.
But that's wildly misguided.
But there's so many other things
Yeah.
that Jimmy's terrible at.
The owner sets the culture and the fabric of the organization.
Yeah.
And you can fire Kevin and you can hire somebody else. And you
Yeah.
know what? 3 years from now, we're going to be having these same conversations.
Jimmy's going to go hire somebody that's going to be easy to control. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for a Bill Belichick.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, he had
Isn't that
somebody that
Kevin?
interviewed for somebody that said, you're not going to control me, and he didn't get the job.
That's true.
Kevin,
that's true.
Look at the people he's hired. Has he hired an alpha that stood up there like Dan Campbell and pounded his fist on the podium?
The only thing I think can save...
He's afraid of people like Dan Campbell.
The only thing I think they can save him is if they draft a quarterback who hits and he's that.
But guys, we've done that.
But no, it's kind of like no. It's like but it has to be Joe Burrow.
That's it.
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but you know what's happening to Joe Burrow? He's getting franchised too.
Well, listen, but he at least has the cachet to say, "Oh, we're going to sign that quarterback or that receiver."
Well, we'll see if they actually
do
do it.
But what's interesting to me is Joe Burrow in the right organization is probably, like he said, how long is your window open? As long as I'm the quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, he's proven that's not true because they forgot that defense is also 50% of the game.
But overall, during his time, they've been to the playoffs.
They can fix
They've
that.
gone to a Super
They have,
Bowl.
but they're also right now 2 games under 500 and on the outside looking in, and with the triumphant that they have in the skills positions.
Yeah.
They should never be out of the conversation.
I agree.
Because you look at Kansas City, who, by the way, Mahomes looks human. I mean, you look at their offense and you're like, what? Yet they're a 4 out of 5 Super Bowl defending champion, and they're going to try to do something that no one's ever done before.
What I mean, get the guy is they got the it. Like the
but
it is.
Couldn't they ruin him?
Well, no,
Yeah, but Jay,
absolutely.
You would.
I know that we have mixed thoughts on Baker, but they drafted Baker number 1. Baker took him to the playoffs in 2 years. Baker's kicking ass in Tampa right
Joe
now.
Burrow.
But he's not Burrow.
No, he's not Joe
He's
Burrow.
not
but
Joe- he's
put
not
his
Josh
numbers
Allen.
next to Joe Burrow's right now.
They're not nearly as good.
They have to.
No, but is Baker Mayfield having a top 5 season?
No, but he's having
Where's
a
his
top.
touchdowns right now? How many's he got?
I'm not letting this turn into a
No,
Baker.
That's fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying is,
He's
I'm
playing
countering
well.
the point that you can hit on the quarterback and still miss.
What Jay is saying.
Okay, who is that guy?
I
It's
gave
going
you
to be.
3.
It's almost impossible to
There's
find.
2 guys in that draft. It was Josh Allen and Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson.
Baker Mayfield's not one of those 2.
If you hit on one of
does
those,
he have this year?
Baker has 32 touchdowns this year. He's having a good season. I'm not arguing.
I'll take it. 32 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's having a good season.
But
I'm not arguing that.
what all
I'll
I'm
take
saying
it.
is, if you want us to save him from a terribly bad owner, which is not going anywhere, you have to have a quarterback that trumps all that.
Okay, who?
There's only 4 quarterbacks. That's it.
I gave you 3 that could trump it.
And the scariest
get
part.
him.
No, you got to look at available quarterbacks.
No, but this
No,
and
zero.
this-
college
this-
kids coming out.
The
Zero.
scariest part in all of this, where's the solution this year?
No, there ain't none.
And that's the thing.
0.
I don't know that this is not a problem that they can solve in the next 6 months.
Oh no.
This
Gotta
may
hit.
be.
It's a draft pick that has to hit in a way you don't expect, because these quarterbacks are not ranked nearly as high as
So whatever solution you come up with is not your long term. Like, this may be an 18-month solution.
yeah.
18. I was thinking much more
they're
like.
gonna
oh my
need to be
God.
bad. They're going to need to be bad next year and hope to
Listen,
get a quarterback next
I'd
year.
be thrilled if this was just an 18-month problem.
But I think a lot of people feel like they can fix this offseason.
No.
I'm talking the quarterback. I still feel like there's people who feel like they can fix
I
the
mean,
quarterback.
probably-
That's insane, though, Jay.
That's
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
Well, you never know, but most likely they can't solve it. You never know.
That's wrap.
Where are they slated to pick?
7.
They're 7th.
Yeah.
But there's 2 games tonight, so they'll be 6th or 7th depending on
Okay,
those games.
They gotta get top
Let's say
3.
they're 4th. They're not getting the quarterback in this draft.
Well,
not the guy they think.
The general consensus is none of these quarterbacks
None of them.
are
None
going
of
to be
them.
in that elite class. So
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the commercials for
Brugler.
Progressive with the backup quarterbacks?
yeah, it's good.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
All 4 are former Browns quarterbacks.
Yeah, I've seen Brissett and I've seen
Colt McCoy,
Josh Dobbs.
Josh
Dobbs. I've seen. I didn't see
Brissett,
That's wild.
and Case Keenum.
That's wild.
That's a great.
Oh, I've seen the
That's a
Case
great,
Keenum one, yeah,
great.
yeah.
All right, we're
commercial
not going to derail you
Yeah,
anymore.
last
Go ahead.
thing on the quarterbacks, Dane Brugler and McShay just put out their McShay put out his top 50 prospects. Cam Ward is his first quarterback at 11. Shador is the second quarterback at 12, just to give you a little consensus on where those 2 are ranked.
But they're going to go 1 and 2.
Yeah, they'll
We're
be
going
1
to
and
get
2.
into
I love the way he does it,
our
though.
next topic, but today's show is brought to us by BetterHelp. How do you guys stay cozy during the holiday season and the winter months? For some, it's wrapping themselves up in a blanket with a hot mug of hot chocolate, watching a movie with the family. That could be a great way to spend the month of December. Therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the seasons change. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. In the game yesterday, Nick Chubb suffered a broken left foot, ending his 2024 season. This is back-to-back seasons that Nick Chubb has essentially suffered a season-ending injury to his left leg. Last year, the knee injury; this year, the foot injury. Gee, we talked about it a little bit on the post-game show, but have we seen the last of Nick Chubb in a Browns uniform?
No, they'll bring him back. He'll rehab. Unless it's a Liz Frank surgery on his foot, which is notoriously difficult to
We don't have any
heal.
indication it's Liz Frank, do we?
No,
They just said broken foot.
If it's just a if it's just a broken foot.
Yeah, well, that would change everything. Yeah. I haven't heard that.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Unless
just saying
it's that high of a level where he won't be back playing. I think he'll be back. It's a foot injury. I'd rather break a bone than tear a ligament any day. But here's the problem, and I've had this before. When you come back from surgery, usually when you come back and you're playing, your whole hope is, I want to get through this season healthy. Now I know that it's behind me. I can play. I took the hits. I'm ready to now go from rehabbing to training. I want to get my quick twitch muscles back. I want to get back in football condition. I can get out here and lift my weights and get back in top peak physical condition. Obviously, he was not that this year. He was not that. You look at Adrian Peterson. He came back. We talk about it all the time. And Leroy says it. He ran for 2,000 yards with a limp. He had a limp in his gait from then on out. So I think he'll be back. But the problem for me is, it's just one of them things where we keep talking about the overall big picture for the Browns. Some of us thought that we would get Nick Chubb back and then we would just go right back to 2020. You know what I'm saying? We get Nick Chubb back and we back to, then the offensive line will be back. And we really forget that this is a game of attrition, and that once you start losing it, and once you start losing that power, once you start using that youth, you don't have it no more. That don't come back. And this is the cruel world of windows. When you have the window is, we got a top 3 offensive line, the best running back in the game. We got young guys. They went for it. They tried it. And when the Baker thing didn't happen or work out, and the receivers didn't work out, they went out and got Jarvis and Odell. That didn't work out. I'll give them credit. They tried to salvage it by retooling on the run. They said, okay, that didn't work out. We still got Nick Chubb. We still got the offensive line. We still got Myles Garrett, some of these young guys. Let's get Deshaun Watson. Let's figure out, let's bring this guy in here, Mary Cooper. They tried it. But the reality is, when that window, sometimes your window closed and you don't even know it. That window for the running game, that was done. We haven't seen those guys for 3 years. And it just shows that now, Nick Chubb will come back next year, but I don't think as a Browns fan or the Browns organization, you can't count on him being Nick Chubb and bail you out. You now have to go figure out, you got to retool the offensive line, you got to figure out the scheme works, and you even have to start looking at running backs.
Yeah, listen, I'd bring Nick Chubb back because nobody's going to pay him anything. You could pay him essentially nothing.
Bring him back.
He has no value in the free agent market whatsoever. And I bring him back, but I can't bring him back as the lead running back. If he ends up getting back to what he was, great. That's a bonus. We'll have to maybe, but the Browns have, Jerome Ford's not the answer. Nice game yesterday. He's had a couple of good games here and there, over the last couple of years, but he's not the answer as your starting running back. They need to address the position in the draft, not in free agency. In the draft, the Browns need to address the position early, which they haven't done in a while. Second, third round, whatever it is.
How can they? They have holes everywhere else.
I know. At this point, it's whack-a-mole.
It's easier to find a running back in round 4 or 5, I would think, than 2. I don't know. I don't disagree. I'd love, but they have too many other holes, I think, to spend a second-round pick on a running back.
In the end, you should take the best player available. They have holes everywhere, so they got to just keep taking the best players. So even if it's next year in the second round, whatever, they have to have a young running back in the mix who's a potential game breaker starter. Bring Nick Chubb back, fine, but assume he's the backup running back.
And Bull, we're gonna have to pivot. I think we got comfortable doing media as contenders. Oh no, we're back to we're doing draft analysis.
Oh yeah, it's totally different.
Like he said, 2-3 year programs. Like, hey, you can't get a guy this year. Hey, let's take a left tackle. It's harder to find one of those, and then we'll get another running back next year. We haven't done that in a while.
We're going into that.
We're going into that role where it's 2-3 year conversations, not just this offseason.
Do you guys think Chubb is done?
I think yesterday ensured that he will be back with the Browns because you're right. Unfortunately for Nick Chubb, there's zero value. There probably was mild interest before at a very, very team-friendly deal. Mm-hmm. I think it makes more sense for the Browns to keep him. You don't want to see him in another team's uniform, even if he comes back and he's awful and he retires.
Right.
That's better than him hitting the market, ending up in Pittsburgh and putting a ring on his finger.
Right.
Yeah.
So you play worst-case scenario with him. You bring him back at a ridiculously low rate, but a very, very incentive-laden deal.
Yeah, sure.
So you go for $1,000, you get $3 million. You go for $1,500, you get $5 million. Whatever those elevators are, they can figure that out. But it's a shame. It was weird when they showed the replay of it and he was hobbling. I said at the time, that might be it. That might be it.
It might be.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes back. But I think you both alluded to this. Certainly, you're not bringing him back and relying on him. You're not counting on him to ever be Nick Chubb again.
No.
That ship is, I believe, sailed, although I would leave a small opening because he is Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And the ACL will be a year stronger next year.
Right.
But is this the beginning of this? We see this with running backs.
Yeah.
With the nagging injuries one after another, then it's a hip, then it's, who knows?
And there's been a lot of great running backs that were great.
Got old fast.
Yeah. Todd Gurley.
We've seen him. Todd Gurley, Sean Alexander, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Long.
He turns 29 in a couple weeks. The end is near. I just think that's the reality of it. I think the injuries. First thing I thought was what you said. Hey, a broken bone's better than a ligament.
Yeah.
It's better than a torn ligament because a bone should heal and be fine. But the foot coming off the knee
and on the same leg.
Yeah, it's just
and the way he did it, it was very odd. I looked at it and
Kevin said he got stepped on.
Oh, okay.
And so, because I told Zach Jackson the same thing, I saw that.
Well, that must have been the play before.
Well, that's what Zach. Because I looked, I said he didn't get stepped
on the play.
And Zach said maybe it was the play before, and then when he hit, is when he felt it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was trying to find when it happened. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. So. If he's going to come back, like Bull said, I think he's best in a two-back system where he's going to be. Get his 14 carries.
Can't rely on him at all.
And use
anything's
him
a bonus.
And whatever he gives you is.
I'm with you on the Jerome Ford. I'd like to see them upgrade from it. I'm just afraid they've got too many other holes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, that might be something they have to wait another year on.
Maybe McNuggets, I think we'll be doing which is the biggest hole for the Cleveland Browns coming up.
Yeah, rank the priorities.
Hey, and another conversation we're going to have after the season is, do you trade Myles Garrett? Yeah. Do you trade Jerry Judy, who looks like a steal at the moment at his price that we thought was bad?
You know what? It sounds like it's gut-wrenching, but here's the fact of it is you don't have the capital to rebuild. Your salary cap strapped.
Yep.
You're just now getting your assets back. Remember, we're without a first-round draft pick in the last 3 years on this team.
Right, yeah.
And that hole is going to just move on.
It's really 5 because the 2 first-round picks before that,
you're right.
And Jedrick Wills are going to be gone.
Yeah, you're right.
Wills is gone now, and Newsom will probably be gone after next year.
And you can't build you talk about a 6-month fix or an 18-month fix. My fear on this is that we just got to the bottom of the losing cycle, and we're going to stay there for a long time because we don't have the proper pieces to get out of it unless you start looking to deal the pieces that you do have.
Right. They're probably screwed until they're out of the Watson money. They got 2 more years of that. The third year, there's still a cap hit, but it's not crazy by the third year. But
we'll talk about that Watson report towards the end of the show.
They're going to have to restructure it again and keep kicking money down the road.
Yep.
Still.
Why?
Well, Jason, save that because we're going to do a whole topic
to spread it out.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Save that because we're going to talk about the Browns' other quarterback, and this topic on Jameis Winston's brought to us by FanDuel. You can tackle all the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Guys, Jameis Winston threw 3 interceptions, did not find the end zone against the Chiefs on Sunday. He now has 11 turnovers since taking over the starting job in Week 8. That is the most in the NFL. Jay, the last time you were on this show before your week of vacation, it was the Wednesday after the Denver game, and you said you would extend Jameis Winston on the spot.
Yes.
Fast forward about 11 days. Would you still give Jameis an extension, or
Absolutely.
have you changed your tune?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Give him an extension. 100%.
Explain.
I'm giving 3 years, $750,000 total. What? What? That's a great deal, you guys.
I was not expecting that answer.
That is a great deal.
That's the best. That's the best thing I've ever heard you say in the show. That was fire.
I texted Jason and Adam last night and said, I'm putting this in the rundown.
Yo.
What do you think Jay's going to do? And we all said, he's not going to back off this take.
Yeah.
Why would I?
I said he'll hijack the show and turn it into a bagel before he takes back the take and admits he was wrong. And Jay, you know what? You outsmarted me. I didn't think you had it in you. Kudos to you, my friend.
Bingo.
That is one of the things that you
Tell me
said,
you wouldn't do that deal right now.
where I was like, I wish I would have said that.
I'm in.
That's
3
the
years.
best spin zone in the history of the show.
That's
Jay.
illegal, though,
Off
because it's
clap
below
for
the
you.
salary, below the
You got to
minimum
give him
salary.
the minimum.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what it is for a
I
veteran.
think it's
of
like
his-
$1 million, maybe.
Boom, do it.
3
You
year,
do 3
$3
for
million.
$3 million right now.
What the hell? We're giving him a guy that's not playing $170 million. That's a
That was
bargain.
good, Jay. That was really good.
That was good.
I hate
That was
to
well
admit it, but
done.
that was really
That was
good.
fire.
That
So
was
that's what
really
I'm
good.
doing. I'm calling his agent right now, because when is the price going to be any lower? You want to buy low. That's what you do in this business.
I think Sean King still wants to give him a 4-year, $100 million contract.
$30 million a year.
No, listen,
Yeah.
listen. Only a wise man stays in his lane when he knows he's going to get hit by a train.
We all, we all get him wrong,
And
we get
you
him right.
can quote me on that.
Yeah.
I have said, and I second this too, I would be the worst general manager in the history of sports. I'd be the worst. I would have signed Jameis to a huge deal,
And then you'd cut him a week
and then I would
later.
cut him immediately after that garbage he gave us yesterday.
Can you imagine me and Jay as the assistant general manager? I'd be like, we be in a million. He got to go. No sign.
I've been watching games with friends before, and this has happened. This is a true story. It was with Baker Mayfield. I had said in the first quarter, you can't win with this guy. You cannot win with this guy. You just can't. He keeps throwing these ridiculous into double coverage.
Yeah.
He can't read. His processor's too slow. Then later in the game, he throws 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They come back, they win, and I go, this dude's playing like an MVP. This dude is playing like now, here's what's great about that. I'm no different than all of us.
That's right.
We all do that.
Sure.
Now, why am I so emotional? Because I'm old, I'm dying, and I want a title. I want a title. So, what did George Steinbrenner do at the end? You're fired. Nope. Come on, you're hired. Come on back, Billy. Come on back. And we're both born on 4th of July, by the way. I'm a poor George Steinbrenner who doesn't really have the power.
Well, I don't know about poor.
So what I do, because George is
compared to
trust
George,
me, I've
yeah.
seen how George lived.
Yeah.
But guys, and by the way, it's not just because I'm old and dying. I've always been that way. When I was 15 and I was watching, I was that way. I am, the definition of a fan is fanatical.
Sure.
I am wild all over the place. I'm fanatical. And it's so funny to me how in the span of 2 weeks, Jameis Winston can go from the guy that beat Pittsburgh, from the guy...
And Baltimore.
Yeah.
This guy could have run for mayor and Bibb would have been in trouble. Okay?
Yeah.
This guy was walking on Lake Erie and it wasn't yet frozen. And now I'm watching him and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? What is wrong with him? And I had a buddy who's in the Tampa media that was also, he's a Browns fan. He's originally from Cleveland, but he's been in the Tampa media for years. He said, yeah, you're figuring it out, aren't you? This was after his third pick yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is it? And he goes, the processor just is too slow. He sees things that are there, but he doesn't see things. He doesn't see things that are there. And sometimes he sees things that aren't there, which is the worst possible combination. He's got, if he walked into a quarterback lab and they looked at him physically, they'd say, this is what he's supposed to look like. This is what he's supposed to throw the ball like. This is it. But we know the position is played up here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Jameis, and what he said was, his ultimate thing was, he goes, what the collective thought of the Tampa media was that you can't stay where you are if you're not intellectually able to grow, you'll never grow. And it was like, Jameis is the guy that he was. He's the guy that he was when he came out of college. He's the guy that he was when he was in Tampa. That's in his DNA. And I kept saying, because Sean was telling me, no, he learned from his time sitting and watching. And maybe he did.
Yeah.
But now, what do we all do? A tiger always goes back to his stripes. And unfortunately, because I like him, I was rooting for him so hard. The
players like him.
I wanted him to be the answer. I really did. But we saw him on the bench yesterday, and that wasn't just so we could see if DTR is the answer, because I think we all know that. It was just like, we can't have this.
By the way, Mike said he's thrown the most interceptions since he took over in Week 8.
Since that point.
If you look at the whole season, he's tied for fourth in interceptions.
Stunning.
Even though he didn't play the first 7 games.
Stunning.
I think you hit it right, the nail on his head, because you know me, when I be talking about stuff, I got to get into the deep dives. I got to go find me a documentary, because after he threw some of them picks, I was like, what is this man looking at?
Gee, I thought that first pick was like he was throwing a Hail Mary.
I thought he was throwing it away.
I don't know what he was doing.
And it was right after a timeout. That's why I asked Tyvis. Maybe Stefanski said, hey, you're throwing Elijah Moore here, but who knows?
I hope the cameras, I hope Hard Knock shows this. I don't know if they will, because I think the teams tells them what they can and can't show.
They showed Ken Dorsey after one.
Well, no, there was a moment.
They did
before they pulled him. There was a moment.
He had Blake stare?
No. Jameis came off the field. I meant to make a note of this, and I didn't. And Kevin put both of his arms up on Jameis' shoulders and was talking to him for quite a while. And I mean, like 30 seconds. But in that, like,
that's a long time.
And he was, and I was thinking at the time, he's about to pull him. Like, Kevin's had enough. He can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And just the way that he was talking to him, I hope I would love to know what that conversation was, because just the way that just the way that Kevin was talking to him, it felt like, please stop throwing it to the other team.
I was watching this quarterback coach, and I got deep in these documentaries, and he was like, well, the reason they pay quarterbacks that money is because it's like taking like 60 pop quizzes every single snap.
Right.
And on pop quizzes where you don't know what's on the test, you just study a bunch. It's like it's Jeopardy. You don't know what the categories are. You just got to study. So every single rep that they take, you got to have a perfect score or bad things happen. And that's why you say, well, what was he doing on this one? He said, listen, they could go into the halftime and give you a completely different look you've never seen. They could be like, yeah, we're not giving you zone. We're going to give you zone and man. We're going to give you man on this side, zone on this side. We're going to drop a defensive end. And he said the great quarterbacks got a certain way of just envisioning it and seeing it before it even happened.
Dissecting it.
It's just
knowing
like
what they're looking at.
Before it even happens. And sometimes he said it's just a gut feeling. You can watch all the filming in the world. And I've seen quarterbacks like, I'll ask Sean this. I've seen DTR, I've seen Jameis, and I've seen Deshaun Watson. I've seen all three of them have to see it before they throw it. If the coverage is there and they see it and it's a clean picture.
But we've also seen examples this year of Jameis throwing guys open and throwing to spots there's nothing there, and he makes it work.
Well, it's like the golfer who can go out and shoot 6 under and can also go out and shoot 12 over.
Yeah.
He's John Daly.
Yeah.
I mean,
does he have the ability? That's why I said physically.
That's what's so maddening.
That is what's so maddening, and that's what's so intoxicating, and that's what's so blinding.
And
that's why when I see it, I go, I need more of that.
And that's why he's been a backup for so many years, even though there's clearly not 32 quarterbacks better than him in the league.
Sure.
But he makes so many mistakes that you're just scared to put him in to start.
And I'll be interested in seeing what he said because I know Jason. He'll when you talk about Stefanski, Stefanski's talent is. Stefanski's talent is understanding people's deficiencies, and I think Stefanski, in the way he calls plays and how he goes about calling his plays, is to minimize your deficiencies. Right. What we see is Jameis Winston dropping back, throwing this football all these times. Kevin Stefanski knows he's not good enough to do that time and time again. But you know what we could do? Let's make the read a little easier for him. Maybe if I got play action, that slows down the linebackers. Maybe that gives me a little space above the linebackers in between the safeties because they got to respect the run. But then you got to actually run the ball. Like, there's different things that you have to do to protect guys. And if you put them in harm's way, like Bull said, I'm starting to come to the conclusion, it's not about the plays that you make. It's about the plays that you don't make. Listen, Patrick Mahomes didn't play well yesterday, but guess what?
He didn't kill them either.
He didn't kill you. He didn't give nothing away.
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson against the Steelers a couple weeks ago. Russell Wilson didn't eviscerate him. He had just thrown for 400 yards the week before. You know what he said? I realize what type of game this is. I'm not going to throw the ball. And if Jameis Winston, like Jason said, the game was within reach.
Oh, okay.
All you needed is a couple drives. All you needed is a
But
little
every
drive.
time you started to feel that, he threw a pick.
I talked to one of the guys in the locker room who said it was 14-0 at halftime, and we were walking in the locker room like it was 35-0. Like, guys just felt like they were out of it.
Jay, in baseball, when a hitter gets a scouting report, and I'm not saying that the league didn't have a scouting report on Jameis Winston, they did. But I think what happened here was, and I think the same thing happened too, by the way, to Joe Flacco last year. Houston was able to exploit it in the playoff game. Mm-hmm. They make a personality profile of Jameis Winston. Who is he as a quarterback? He's a guy that's going to take chances. Mm-hmm. He's going to try to put the ball in tight windows. So as a defensive coordinator, and by the way, he went up against one of the best yesterday, what you're going to do to him is we're going to give you looks that are temporarily there. We're going to bait you into throwing the football, knowing you're going to see that and say, ooh, that's what I want.
I don't know. There was no bait yesterday. He was just throwing in double coverage.
The deep ball, I didn't understand that whatsoever. But the pick, by the way, that was off Chubb, that's one of those, come on.
Yeah.
That doesn't belong to Jameis Winston, but it goes on his record.
But he has a lot of those.
He does.
He has a lot of those.
I know,
it's kind of funny, right?
Well, if the ball was off target enough, if it would have hit him in the chest, maybe you could say that
it was 2 yards to the side. Like
it was to the side, but
Chubb could also catch that.
Absolutely. And the bounce went right into the defender's hands. He didn't do anything special. It just bounced right into his hands. But there are too many other times where I get the belief that the defense is either shading or giving him something, hoping he's going to take it, and then they close on it once the ball is thrown, and they pick the ball off.
Even worse, they could be giving him them throws in the first half to bait him into thinking, oh, we got him.
The equivalent of Manny Ramirez spitting on a curveball, knowing he's going to see it later in the game and he's going to put it over the fence.
And then they get to the second half and be like, oh, you thought we was doing that? No. We just switched this all the way up.
I think it's interesting. I was just looking for a minute that, you know how Jameis Winston had that 1 year where he started the season for the Saints, played 6 games, got hurt in the 7th game.
Yeah.
And
14 touchdowns.
14 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Great year.
Right? It's the only time he has ever played well over any kind of decent stretch.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. The only time he's played pretty well over a decent stretch without turning the ball
Turnover
over.
free.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I noticed in that one stretch? It's never been in the case of his career.
What?
He wasn't throwing for a ton of yards. He averaged less than 200 yards a game in those games. Every other year where he's had a ton of interceptions, he's averaged 250, 260, 280, 300. Now,
he was still with Sean Payton then, right?
Yeah.
That was Sean Payton, correct?
Maybe in Kevin's offense, not what they've been running this year, maybe in Kevin's offense where he's trying to prevent you from your flaw. That if they're running more play action and whatever, maybe he's making less mistakes. I don't know.
Maybe,
I don't know if it matters at this point.
And I don't know what the evaluation is. I don't know if they keep Dorsey and they go back to Kevin calling the plays, and Kevin's going to say, I can figure out a way to minimize some of these interceptions.
I said last week I'd fire Ken Dorsey. I'd fire him.
Well, really?
It didn't work. I'd fire Ken Dorsey.
You have to.
Kevin, I'd give play calling back to Kevin. Promote Tommy Reese.
It just, I agree with that, but it just makes us look so.
But there's no bigger indictment on Ken Dorsey though. Look what Josh Allen's doing.
No, when I was watching the Bills,
seriously.
Yeah, when I was watching the Bills yesterday, I said the same thing.
Their offense has less talent.
I was ready to give up on him. I mean, not give up on him, but I said I don't know you can win a Super Bowl with him because he throws too many interceptions.
Right, but I think last year was he's always a little high. Last year was the only year he was egregiously high on the interceptions.
Well, that
turned out to be the anomaly.
And that was when I was saying I don't think you can win with
right.
that.
And we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
And just like I don't think you can win ultimately big prize with Baker.
Right.
I don't think ultimately you can win big. The only guy that's really done this, guys, was Brett Favre, and he won one.
And it's not that long ago. The game was different because there were more interceptions in those days because you could hold on to the wide receiver back in those days. So overall, the interception number. But in this NFL, where you can't mess with the receivers at all, you just the guys at the top of the interception. I don't think you can win in big games with those guys.
No, they're going to bring you down at some point.
I looked up the game log from that 2021 Jameis season.
Yeah.
That you just referenced.
I took out the one game where he got hurt. I didn't count that in my average yards per game.
Well, even still, in week 1, they beat the absolute crap out of the Packers, 38-3. He threw 5 touchdowns and 148 yards, no picks.
Well, when you're up that big, you're running the ball, and their run game must have been working.
But I'm just saying, 5 touchdowns, 148 yards.
That's odd.
They lost to Carolina. 22 pass attempts, 111 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. That was 2 of his 3 picks in those 7 games in that one game. The next week, they beat the Giants 28-13, 21 pass attempts, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The next week, they lost to the Jets, 23 pass attempts, 226 yards, 1 touchdown, no pick. They played the Washington football team in 2021.
Football team in that year, yeah.
He was 15 of 30, so just a 50% completion percentage for 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. So that's
Did they win that game?
They did 33-22. And then the following week, he was 19 of 35 for 222 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, in a 13-10 win over Seattle.
Well, whatever they were doing to keep him from giving the ball away, it worked, and it's not working now.
Nope.
Either way, one of the biggest things that they're going to have to do is they need to figure out what is going on with this offensive line, this running game. If they don't, I don't care who they put back there. They could put back Jameis, DTR, whoever they want to put back there. It is a wrap if they don't figure out what you're going to do with the run game.
2 straight years they've been able to run the ball. They couldn't run it last year either. And we
And
blamed it.
that
we
was
blamed
the
it on-
identity.
We blamed it on just no Nick Chubb, but I mean Callahan was here.
Yeah.
And they couldn't really run it. I mean, I don't remember now offhand what the numbers were, but
Well, the offensive line's not as good. That's part of it. They played better the second half of the season. The O-line.
I know there's going to be plenty of time in the offseason to prioritize this team's needs, but just thumbnail real quick right now. And let's break them into 3 areas. Defense, I'll leave as its whole. But offense, running game, passing game. Like, how are you prioritizing their needs right now?
I mean, well, the quarterback is the biggest need.
Number 1,
quarterback.
clearly.
Then offensive line.
I'd put left tackle number 2.
Left tackle. Yeah, because you got to protect number 1.
I think it's very realistic that they may not be in a position to fix quarterback, that they go left tackle in the first round, and you have to kick the can down the road on quarterback.
But it's not just left tackle. In the next year or two, you're going to have to replace almost everybody on that
I know.
line.
It's old and
I
aging
told you
out.
guys earlier, Zach Zinter has not been what they thought he would be. For a guy who's played as much in college, he's not ready. I'm not saying he'll never get there. I'm telling you he's not there now, and he's not anywhere near where they thought he would be by this point.
When's the last time they drafted a offensive lineman that was good? I mean,
Joe Thomas. Joe Batonio.
Batonio.
Well, they
Batonio.
drafted Alex
Batonio's-
Mack.
Mack.
that's not since
Max
Batonio.
Batonio's more recent than Max.
Mitchell Schwartz was a good draft pick.
Not
but
here.
I don't think he's since.
He took off after he left here. It was probably Batonio.
He was good here. People
Yeah,
just
but
made
he
a
got-
big-
he got better. He got better.
Right, but his rookie year was bad. After that, he was good, and then he got great.
They need another receiver. They need a running back.
They need everything.
They need another defensive end. They need another linebacker. They need another corner.
You just pull up on that talent store and say, we'll take one of everything.
A safety.
That'll
There's
do
a
it,
ton
right?
of holes.
That'll
Black
fix it.
Friday sales.
I mean, there's a ton of holes, especially on
Done
offense.
all
Shop
the
on Black
holiday
Friday.
shopping there. They also need a
$2.
new special teams unit, potentially a special teams coach. We're going to get to
The
that
whole thing?
after a quick word from the college football playoff. Guys, it's that time of the year. The CFP is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup of the day, the SMU Mustangs taking on Penn State at noon. Then it's Clemson looking to upset Texas in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. After the first year we started UCSS, the Browns had Mike Prefer as their special teams coordinator, and we all said as a collective unit, he's got to go. And we were thrilled when they hired Bubba Ventrone, who was coming off leading Indianapolis' special teams unit, which was ranked across the board as one of the highest in football. Fast forward to present day, I'm not sure the Browns' special teams are ahead of where they were 2 years ago when the team let go of Mike Prefer. Bull, I'll start with you. How has this special teams unit gotten to the point where we're at now, where it's nothing, and I mean nothing, seems to go right anytime that group's on the field?
Yeah, and it's funny, last year, or 2 off seasons ago, it felt like they were making a point of acquiring guys, like lower roster guys that were specifically good at special
Didn't
teams.
he Bull either have a couple of free agent signings or late round draft picks that
Naheem
were
Hines?
notable
Yeah.
special teams
Well,
contributors?
yeah,
Naheem
2
Hines
years ago
never
they
played.
did that. This past year they signed Naheem Hines. Now he's missed the whole season due to injury.
Jakeem Grant was supposed to be the one to fix it all.
Yeah.
It was a-
And he, of
I
course,
remember
was
that.
hurt 2
Yeah.
years in a
And then-
row.
yeah.
So
First play of the
it's been a
preseason,
disaster. Obviously, the punter is good, but we talked about this last week. He's not – the kicker's problems, that like he has nothing to do with the kicker. He can't. He's not a kicker. He doesn't know how to coach a kicker. Why the Browns, unlike the Ravens and – I mean, Ravens are probably the only team that I know of that does it.
I think it's a
They
deficiency
should have a
across the
specific
league.
kitchen. You got a multi-billion-dollar operation. Why do you not have a specific kicking coach?
Particularly when most games come down to 3 points.
That's what I said last week. It's
but
insane.
they have been so bad at especially punt returns since Josh Cribbs. I mean, they are awful. 2 weeks in a row you fumbled. Last week, I mean, they moved on from Tony, so what's the point there? The special teams is hideous. There's no part of this team, like there's no one coach you could point to and say, well, at least he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
You could argue that Stefanski, Dorsey, Schwartz, and Bubba Ventrone should all be fired.
Man, I just be tired of hearing these people with this the mental gymnastics with the waiver wire at the end of the year. The Browns are sitting down so-and-so and bringing up another guy from the Ford team. And
Yeah, but a lot of teams do that. A lot of teams
I
do.
mean, but they teams don't be terrible in special teams. Like, my thing is, I get it. You try to identify a special team, those guys got hurt. I just feel like they be putting people out there. Like this is unexcusable. What is Deontay Foreman doing returning kicks? Think about that.
Yeah.
He is a goal line back who can't even run on the goal line. You got him back returning kicks. That's the equivalent of a fullback. And he's returning kicks for you.
Now, Ford had a nice return yesterday.
But
He did.
But my question is, who saw that and was like, yeah, that's a great idea. They can't return punts. By the way,
You know why he's probably doing it? He can catch the ball.
Why not just make Ford the returner and get another running back? Like Ford has shown potential as a returner. Period.
It's ridiculous. Even we had it, and even not knowing the rules. You go back to the Jacksonville game. The Browns go down and cover a kick, get a fumble, and the kick gets overturned because
The kicker was
offsides. What do you mean?
By the way, I've only seen that called once all year.
Yeah.
And it was on us. That means you didn't know the rules. You didn't know. He didn't know the rules. And that's all you do all week is talk about special teams. You can't return anything. It just looks bad. It's like every other team. It's like when you have your mom and dad. They tell you you're going somewhere special, and the first thing they tell you is when you get in the car, boy, don't you embarrass me when we go in here.
Be on your best behavior.
You don't ask for nothing. Don't touch nothing. If they offer you something, you say no. I'm like, but it's a PlayStation, Mom. I said say no. We get embarrassed on TV. It's special teams. I just don't want to be embarrassed. And hear the announcers. Well, I don't know another penalty on the Browns. I just don't. It's special teams. It's supposed to be seen but not heard, and we keep getting heard, and that falls on Bubba Ventrone.
Where were you going where people were offering you PlayStation? My parents never took me there.
It was just even if they was offering you something good.
Cupcake.
Yeah,
nope.
No, stop.
Yeah.
They were offering you electronic football. Remember that back?
Yeah, exactly.
With the lines.
With the 9-volt battery.
Yeah.
I think it's everything sucks. Everything's bad.
Yeah.
So you know how like when you've got a baseball team and you're really good but you got one hole, everybody else can kind of look at that dude and be like,
Yeah.
you're not it. You're costing us. There's none of that here. The defense can't look at the offense and say you guys aren't doing your part because they're not doing their part either. And special teams isn't doing its part. So it's almost like, losing breeds losing, winning breeds winning. When you're winning, nobody wants to be the guy that lines up offsides. I still can't understand how we had 3 plays in one quarter, the first quarter, when we should be most focused, where we weren't properly lined up.
No excuse.
I don't even know how that happens 3 times to one team.
Yeah.
So I think what's happening here is it's just general apathy. The whole team is eaten up with apathy. It doesn't matter if I don't do my job because he's not doing his, and neither are 51 other guys. So none of us do our jobs. That's how losing breeds losing. And that's why, on the flip side, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, no one is playing. The defense is playing well. But, like, when you look at their offense, I just kept looking at their offense going, I don't recognize this offense. This is not the Chiefs' offense. It's not Andy Reid's offense. Pat Mahomes is missing guys that are open. So all of a sudden, in 1 year, maybe it's because he shot 714 commercials in the offseason. Remember how we blamed Baker for that? I love you, Trav, but you're not getting separation.
Now, he's old. It might just be that.
Well, it's possible, but it also helps if you're not shooting, my God.
Yeah.
He and his brother are literally on 80% of the commercials on NFL games have one of the Kelseys or one of the Watts or all of them.
And think about it. Kelsey and Pat Mahomes, they'd be going through some stuff. Hey, it matters who you date.
Oh, clearly.
You're like, oh my gosh.
I thought it was funny. Everybody thought that Taylor Swift was going to be in town yesterday.
Yeah,
Even she decided, I can't watch that stuff. I can't watch this. I'm just now learning about football. I can't watch the Browns at the game.
Have you guys seen the movie Talladega Nights?
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Classic.
You know how he loses his edge and all of a sudden he comes home and his wife's married to the other guy?
Yes.
There was a meme yesterday with that scene and Noah Gray, the Chiefs' backup tight end, was with Taylor Swift. Because he's been playing pretty well for them.
Yeah. But even though my point was, though the Chiefs aren't hitting on all their cylinders offensively, all they do is play down to their opponents and win by 1 point every week.
Well, except for this week where
in Cleveland's case, they're like, we got this by 14.
Yeah.
Because Cleveland's Cleveland.
Yeah.
But if you look at all of their games this season, they've been in a position to lose almost every single game in the fourth quarter. But what happened? They made plays when they absolutely had to, and everybody became Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce again, and they find ways to win where when you're going poorly and you're 3-10, you find a way to lose.
Oh yeah, that's why the Chiefs have a losing record against the spread because they haven't been overly
covered
impressive.
at all.
No,
I'm with you, man, Jason. We can't do this no more. McNuggets got us looking crazy. Remember during the offseason, what ways is Bubba Ventrone gonna utilize to play 3-dimensional chess with the new kickoff rule?
Didn't we make a break? I believe, if I remember correctly, that Earl, Anthony, and Mike at the beginning or the end of last season
behind the glass
made the top 25 most important Browns, and Jim Schwartz was like number 3.
I remember that.
That was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago?
Okay.
That was 2 years ago.
What happened to Jim Schwartz?
We were right. 2 seasons ago, he was great.
He was the assistant coach of the year.
Yeah.
I don't care about these stupid awards.
I just said it to
They're
irritate
narrative based.
I just did it to set you off. What happened?
Yeah.
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't change.
He has a fastball. You know what happens in baseball if you have one fastball?
Guys adjust and start hitting it.
It don't matter how much hard you throw it. 100 miles, that's going over the fence.
The book is out, and it's play action and it's misdirection. We talked about it. I never did write the article.
You didn't even need to write it.
But the Texans exploited it.
Yep.
I've talked to people. The Texans went back and watched the Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl when when the Eagles won, but the Patriots hung like 600 yards on that defense.
Yeah.
East and West.
And they used that blueprint and that playoff game last year, and it's all misdirection and it's all play action.
That's what coaching is.
And
right
it
there.
gashes this defense.
Miles
It
Garrett.
did 10 years ago, and it does today.
Have you ever seen Myles Garrett on these read options? I mean, it's great. Like, he's over
don't
here.
block him.
They just don't block him. And they're like, go ahead. Run in there.
What happened exactly to him, by the way? He got poked in the eye?
It looked like it. They never confirmed it, but it looked
He
like
was in
it.
terrible pain.
Yeah,
it
I've
seemed
never
like.
seen that reaction from
Well, have you ever
him.
taken a finger into the eye?
But what's
yeah.
on the replay, you couldn't even see.
No, I never
It
saw
didn't
his
look like
fingers
it.
get
didn't-
inside the helmet.
Right, and I'm sure they did. Like, I'm not.
No. Yeah.
But you just couldn't see
The
it.
amount of pain he
And
was
to
in.
his credit, that guy did go over and was like,
Joe Tooney.
apologized to him or said whatever to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was obviously not on purpose.
Yeah, and after Miles was at the podium, and he's even said, like, the lights are really bright in here. The light's really affecting me. It wasn't when it wasn't as bright. It wasn't as bad, but now with these lights, it's
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
he should be fine.
I commend him. I would tell, because seeing what happened to Nick Chubb, I'd be tempted to, if I'm not going to trade Myles Garrett, I might just tell him, hey, listen, we're going to get you that 100. If you get 100, you're done. We cannot afford you being hurt and damaged up. This is a wrap. We losing these next 3 games, and we playing DTR.
Yeah, he's playing for individual glory right now. He even mentioned yesterday that that's how he gets up for it. He's trying to get that half sack, and a couple times he almost chased Mahomes down. On the one play where he chased him to the right sideline, it really shows you how fast he is. But
Yeah.
he wasn't able to get him. And I feel like right now he's playing for his individual stats. And if he's going to have surgery, and we don't know that he is, right? We just know that the feet are an issue.
Right.
Like, get a head start on it. So
Yeah.
it's ready in July. Do it
Might as
now.
well do it now.
I'd get it over the.
And Kevin
over with.
Stefanski's about to take the podium, so if he says anything about starting quarterbacks, injury updates, we'll get that to you as soon as we can. We got 2 more topics in today's show, which is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone has different ways of staying cozy during the winter months. For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a hot mug of cocoa or watching a movie with the family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the seasons change. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP/LockedOn. Guys, Jerry Judy eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark for the first time in his career yesterday. He had another 100-yard performance. Before we talk about the report about Deshaun Watson potentially coming back next season, I just felt we had to give Jerry Judy some kudos for being really the only guy on the entire Browns offense that has exceeded expectations this season. So, G, you want to start?
Shout out to Jerry Judy. I love when people prove haters wrong. I love it. Mark Slayer, hey, Stink, come on, bro. Hey, I need to listen. Him and Steve Smith. I need a couple blogs from y'all. We gotta have to figure this out because Jerry Judy has been balling. 14 targets last game, 11 receptions, and by the way, he's feeling good. I didn't know he had the burst like he got. Jerry Judy Jerry Judy got a little burst to him. I think he is shining. Amari Cooper is no longer here. I think that he is feeling like he's the definite number 1 receiver. I think he thinks that this is going to be an opportunity for him to have his best year as a pro. I think, when you look at it, I don't know what his chemistry will be with DTR, but if he continues to keep running these routes the way he's running it, he has an outside chance at 1,300. And for a guy who was a former first-round pick, and people look at that list of people who he was taken ahead of, and people laugh, I think Jerry Judy is showing why he is a dude he won the Biletnikoff, if I'm correct?
Correct.
I think he did.
At Alabama. So I think he's hitting his stride, and I think the Browns potentially have a number 1A receiver. Bull needs to see it multiple years.
You don't get to be a 1A until you do it for multiple years.
No, I didn't say 1. I said 1A.
Oh, like I thought you were saying 1A is the top.
No. 1 goes number 1, and then you got 1A right below that.
All right.
So
So
wouldn't that be 1B?
Well, that's the G. Bush Kool-Aid Mafia.
No, it's referred to as 1A. That's a step below.
That's a step.
One doesn't get a distinction, then you 1A.
Yeah, right there.
But wait, Bull, and I'm not ready to say he's a 1A either. He's playing like a 1.
Yeah.
Right, but
right now. For a very short period of time.
But the other guys in that elite class of wide receivers have done it from the moment they came in the league.
So that's
He's
what I'm
done
saying.
it for 8 weeks.
What I'm saying is, I can't put him in there yet. He needs to do more.
Yes, he is playing like that right
but
now.
He is playing like not a 1A. He's playing like a 1.
I agree, but he doesn't get put into the one category until he's done it longer.
And you know what I'm afraid of? He's doing it with a quarterback that's not afraid to take a lot of chances. What happens when he gets a quarterback that's a little more reserved, which, by the way, is every other quarterback that's ever walked the face of the earth?
Right.
So what happens when he's playing with that guy?
Right.
YOLO.
Whoa!
Because
you get a ball.
Receivers love nothing more than 50-50 balls. Like he's getting all the if he's open.
But also he's constantly
wide open.
He is.
Wide open.
I'm looking at this
unreal.
man 7-11. He's always open.
We have not seen a guy on the Browns get this open this consistently since Josh Gordon. I mean, that's it.
And I'm looking at it going.
I think you're right.
I'm looking at it going, how is this dude this open
all the time?
All the time.
Are you getting schemed like that? He actually is the reason Deshaun Watson got sat down. Because when people start going back to the Odell dad.
Oh, the videos.
Jerry Judy was just running around, just wide open,
And I just wonder, to your point, like this offseason, when teams sit down and review film of the Browns, I think they're going to start paying more attention to him in scouting reports. Mm-hmm. And we'll see next year if he can continue to put up these numbers, because I'm just amazed. I told Zach yesterday, I'm like, this dude is always open. They're never covered. How are they not covering
No
him?
one's around him.
Denver, he's wide open. Denver knows him better than anybody.
New Orleans,
he was
wide
wide
open.
open.
Yeah.
Yesterday, again,
City's a good defense.
Wide
too.
open. And some of that's a credit to him. Like, give the guy credit.
You look at the last few weeks. I mean, Denver, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City, all good defenses.
Yeah.
The games before that, you'd say, those defenses aren't very good. But these 3 games, you're facing really good defenses here, and he has played great in all those games.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal. There's nothing you can say. I mean,
I'm ready to say that he does this for the better part of next season, and he's number 1 receiver.
Yes.
Now, don't get too excited. This has nothing to do with Project Stockpile. I
want more.
I want more.
Yeah.
I want. I want 2 receivers. Can you imagine if Cedric Tillman is your 3rd receiver? Oh, we ready to go.
It's weird too. Like Amari Cooper has had moments in Buffalo, but yesterday I think Josh
catches.
Allen threw for like 7,000 yards yesterday, and Amari Cooper had no catches.
I don't even know if he had a target.
Well,
I don't think he did.
Yeah.
I can tell you 1 sec.
That's insane.
That's because Amari Cooper runs an 82 on Madden. He's 82.
Yeah, Amari Cooper's gotten old.
93 acceleration.
Khalil Shakir's become their best receiver. He's become a nice player.
He did not have a target yesterday.
That's insane.
Yeah. You move. He has
crazy.
tight end speed.
I wonder if they interviewed him after the game and he was still saying about how this is the greatest place I've ever played.
Yeah, well, if he cares about
they're
winning, then it
winning.
would be.
And he also cares about catching footballs. All wide receivers do.
Yeah.
No catches.
That was
no
bizarre
targets.
in that game. I don't know what
and
happened.
it's not like he was hurt. He was on the field. He just wasn't getting open.
Well, we noticed a little bit. We all. Amari Cooper was so mad he didn't get that bag here because he knew himself his feet and his ability to get open was shot. He knew it.
He might be out of the league at the end of this year.
He was like,
you know what, though, before we go that far, I do think that Detroit was making a serious effort just to make sure that they're building their game plan, and what they did was they said, okay, you're not going to beat us. And he didn't, but Josh had enough weapons. Because he has had some decent moments in Buffalo.
Yeah, but Shakir's been their number 1 guy this year.
Yeah, but I think they spent a lot of money or a lot of attention and time.
What are his numbers since he went there? I haven't really paid that close attention.
Amari Cooper?
Yeah.
Since going to Buffalo.
He missed some games.
He hasn't burned it up.
Yo, this is actually crazy. 6 games with Buffalo, 16 catches.
Well, he missed some games, right, Mike?
No,
he's
he's played in 6 games
Okay.
with Buffalo. He has 16 catches in 6 games with Buffalo.
Hey.
Yeah, he's done nothing.
So credit where credit is due. The Browns in the offseason made the decision that despite the fact he was coming off a career year, they decided that they were going to pay Judy and not him. Credit to
that's the one smart thing they
whoever
did.
made that call. I don't know who it was.
What if it was Depot?
I'll give him credit. And I'll sign him for a 10-year contract.
Hey,
If you're making a list of smart things the Browns have done that year, is that the only thing on the
Probably.
list?
What else do you got? I don't know.
You know when a guy is not athletic is that if he is a small dude but he wearing medium cleats. If you wear medium cleats or high tops, you are trash. They're like you can't like you
Who
got
made that rule?
Everybody
Bush.
knows it. Listen, kids don't even wear medium tops no more. It's all low tops, even in
Right.
playing basketball. If you got medium, he had lineman cleats on. It was rubber soles at the
Lineman
bottom.
cleats.
He was sharing with Joe Batonio. He was like, "Yeah, let me get them
Yeah.
grass cutters for $300." I was like,
He's
"Mari,
wearing the Adam the Bull sneakers.
them boys.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Them
them joints right
And
there.
got
Mark
some high
Cooper's
school
wearing
kids in
Brooks
here.
cleats.
The boys are screaming.
Yeah, we got some high school kids watching
The New
the show
Balance.
today. They should not be
Oh,
taking
New Balance
fashion
makes some
advice.
nice bikes.
New Balance.
2 updates from Stefanski. before
One,
we
they
get
got to take
our-
advice from you with your champion sweatshirt from 1986.
Wow, shots fired.
Do you see any sweatshirts being worn on this show?
I mean, you've worn it.
He dug in his back
Worn
pocket for
something
that.
once.
Champions
It's
making a
great
comeback.
sweatshirt.
I
Damn,
gotta
he
take
made
a
a
shot.
note of
I
the
gotta take a
champion
shot,
sweatshirt
Mike.
and filed that away and used it now.
Champions making a comeback
He's
with
like,
kids.
let me see what I got
I
in my
mean, I
arsenal
don't-
here.
I don't-
Champion sweatshirt.
Boom! Mike, I don't pretend to be stylish.
Neither
Like,
do I, but I don't think your shoes could fit on a 4-way highway. 2 things from Stefanski. Speaking of feet, Nick
And what do
Chubb-
high school kids know? I can't see them because they're
And
kind
no
of
socks today.
I'm sure they all have
he's got
mops on
socks.
their heads.
He's
Every
got
high
socks.
school kid, do they all have mops on their heads?
No.
Well, turn your head. You can look.
I'm not looking. I'm focused on the camera.
No, that's the high school do right now. The high school
Talking about they all
look.
got mops. All these teenagers.
That's what they wear.
My nephew's
That's
all
the
they do,
lettuce.
they got mops on their heads.
lettuce.
And you know, they
That's the
get
style now.
Yeah.
I
it
asked.
is.
I was in the supermarket.
Hey, you guys from Hawken? Do you know Mangini's kids? Yeah. All right. Why are you guys laughing?
We'll find out after.
I was in the supermarket the other day, and there's this like teenage girl. She's probably in high school or she's in college, maybe.
Yeah.
Who works at there? And I'm like, what is with all the boys wearing their hair like they got a mop on their head? Do girls find that attractive? And she's like, no. So I don't know. Maybe the girls at their school do, but it's not just them. It's every school in America.
No, the kids are doing it. AJ's rocking it.
That's a big
AJ's
thing.
got a
AJ's got a
big mop.
beautiful mop.
Hey, three
Yeah.
important
Rocking
things
lettuce,
from Stefanski.
man.
In all seriousness, 3 important things from Stefanski. JOK, once again, not expected to play against Cincinnati this weekend. Stefanski says he does not think Nick Chubb will need surgery, which is a good thing for Nick Chubb. He also is not ready to make a decision on who will be the starter Sunday against the Bengals, whether it's DTR or Jameis Winston. He
That
says
means
it's more
it's
time to
DTR.
evaluate.
Get the hell out of here. That's so stupid.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't say Jameis gives us the best chance to win.
Hold on. He just told us 3 things that's mastered the obvious. We know JOK is not playing.
I thought his career was in
Look,
danger.
we-
All of a
people
sudden-
talk about it's a neck injury.
Well, but if he's asked the question, he's answered. You know what I mean? He's answered.
Yeah, Nick
Ask
Chubb,
and answer.
he's still done for the year. I'm glad you don't need surgery.
But it's good they didn't need surgery.
He don't need surgery. I'll take that. And the last one, come on, we all know DTR started.
I didn't think that he'll name it Wednesday.
Yeah,
I didn't think he would say
Why?
it
What's
today.
the point?
Well, there's no benefit to announcing it now.
Today,
What's the
everybody.
downside to events?
Today's a long
have
day
to
in the
say it.
building. It's all meetings, treatment. Tomorrow is an off day, and then Wednesday they
See,
get back
what he's
at
going to
it.
do, Bull, is he's going to wait to Saturday to tell DTR. he's
Yeah,
playing.
right.
No.
At the walkthrough.
Yeah, hey,
Sunday
get ready.
at 11.
They do torture.
DTR, come
they
here.
torture that kid with
It's
mind
actually a
games.
good game.
Wow.
Hey, it's actually a good game for him to play. The Bengals defense isn't any good. However, you got to score a ton of points because you know the Bengals will score.
He going-
Although the Browns defense played decently against the Bengals in their first game.
Man, he going to
But-
Stefanski like, look, hey man, I got ticket requests. Let a dog know. Like
Yeah.
when people trying to come to the game.
I think he learned from that awful
We'll discuss
decision he
who
made
should
last
start
year.
tomorrow, but we have a different quarterback topic to end today's show. Over the weekend that got buried before the
man.
game, our friend Mary Kay Cabot put out an article. I'm going to read the headline from this article. In case you missed it, why the Browns will give Deshaun Watson a chance to come back and at least compete for the starting job. Essentially, Mary Kay said Deshaun has a chance to come back, win the starting job. It is not a done deal that he will no longer play with the Cleveland Browns. Guys, what was your reaction to seeing this report from Mary Kay that Deshaun might be competing
Jason,
for the
there you
Browns?
go, Jason.
Tell us
One
it's a
job.
done
There
deal.
you go, Jason
Tell us
Dog.
she's wrong and it's a done deal.
let us know what you
I
think
can't.
about
I
this,
can't
Jason.
go on in this universe if you don't tell me right now.
I'm not going.
It's a done deal. I can't go
I
on.
ain't saying nothing. Go ahead, Jason.
I mean, listen, she is the queen of the Browns beat. She's the authority on all things Browns. She has more relationships in that building than anybody else does. The only thing I can tell you is that has not been my impression. they are moving on. There's going to be a different starting quarterback next year. Like Deshaun will be on this team because of the roster or because of the cap
on
hit.
paper, he'll be on the team, right?
Yeah, he'll be on this roster next year. But I don't foresee any situation where he's a starter week one.
Do you see where he's in the building?
I had that argument this past week that I would just send him home because, this is all fluid and we're still, my job at The Athletic and we're reporting and, there's still more to come. But what I can tell you is I've talked to a number of players in the building who feel like the tone and the vibe in the building is far different without him in it. Well, and I don't see how you can go back to that.
I don't either. And the thing that I would throw into the conversation is that the official voice of Browns media, Nathan Zagura, said on the podcast, yeah, he's not going to be part of this deal next year.
Right. I mean,
did he? I don't want to mischaracterize
basically, yes.
what he said, but
he called him spam.
He called him a spam sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not complimenting a guy by calling him spam.
And when
Nathan works for the team.
Nathan is state-run media. He works for the Browns. He's getting that from somebody.
I don't. Again,
let me read a quote from The Athletic, Zach Jackson's article.
Yeah.
Is this today?
This is today, or maybe last night. I'm not sure if it's last night or this morning.
It was last night.
This is a quote from his article. Watson is not coming back to play for the Browns again.
Definitively.
Despite what foolish arguments you might encounter in other corners of the internet. But Cleveland can't just ditch him without major financial consequences.
I talked to one member of the organization who said, we have enough drama here as it is, basically. This building is full of drama. Can you even imagine opening up the quarterback competition with Deshaun and somebody else?
Yeah.
It's just another layer that we don't need. So because there was a time where I thought, cut him and take the cap hit. You're going to be bad for a while. Just eat it now and get it out of the way. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think he will be on the 53. Personally, I would send him home just because after talking to people who feel like the vibe is different without him there, that tells me all I need to know.
Can I ask you a question? You said you were having an argument with someone where you were
suggesting
suggesting
it wasn't an argument,
or a discussion.
Yeah.
You don't have to say who this was with, but what was their argument for keeping him in the building?
He's not going to be the starting quarterback.
So
he's not going to be the starter.
But he's in the building.
That was my point. But he's not going to be front and center of the organization.
But this is the guy who demanded that the organization move on from someone who would have been the backup and not starting, but in the building.
They are
that ship has sailed.
They are in a far different place now than they were then.
Well, and that's why the reason I bring that up is to show the timeline within 12 months.
Yeah.
The organization has gone from him having the keys, the castle, the car, and making all the laws, to now, no, you're going to do what we tell you to do, and that's the way it's going to be.
And the big difference in that was he had 3 years left on the deal. Now there's two.
And he's played terrible.
We have 7 more games of garbage.
And after the 25 season, then they could cut him.
Probably. But let's see how they handle the contract. I think that they restructure it again.
I told you. Listen,
but why kick the can further down the road at this point?
Because
I'll tell you in a second.
My theory is the reason you kick the can further down the road is if you don't, you won't have operating capital in order to get these other holes that we didn't know we had filled.
I just think the Browns have too many holes. They have. I think they're better. I'd like to hear your explanation, but it seems like it'd be better off taking a bad cap hit for the next 2 years and slow building to 3 years from now when they can be good again.
You keep stretching it out because the cap keeps going up. So as the cap grows, the hit isn't
less and less.
It's less of the percentage of the cap.
Yeah.
So that's why you restructure it again. You add more dead money to the end because it's like, do you want to drown in one tidal wave or is it a drip?
Now, what is his motivation to do that? None.
It's this.
He'll get the same amount of money.
He's guaranteed but it's not. It's written in a contract. They can restructure it whenever they want. Because
with his permission.
No, they can do whatever they want.
As long as they don't.
That's the case.
As long as
all
get his
all
money.
it is moving around numbers on a spreadsheet. His money is secure. So it's just.
It's not even. His actual payments are not even being pushed back.
Yeah,
right?
it's just cap manipulation.
And so here's the thought process. If they're willing to say, all right, well, look, and let's be clear, he probably is not really comfortable coming back either.
I totally agree.
He's like,
They cheered him.
Like,
he was injured on the
that-
field, and they cheered him. Why
That-
would you want to come back?
So
to that?
he like, listen, just pay me my money, and I'll go. If they do that and pay me my money, and I'll go off into the sunset, figure out what I'm going to do.
I don't know his mindset. He
I
probably
don't
wants
either.
to play.
He does.
He's
But-
never going to play again.
Now,
in the NFL.
here's the thing: if they do that, can they pay him and still be on the hook for the majority of his contract, but he's playing for the
Yes.
team?
Yes.
Nobody else is going to take him
No,
on.
they would under this circumstance.
Hang on, say it again. I'm not following.
So
We
if
pay
they
him
cut
and
him?
he plays for
It's
someone
the Steelers
else.
with Russell Wilson.
Yes,
Exactly. What the Steelers
exactly.
did.
yeah. So
And
basically,
another
it's-
team
it's
would
a-
be more likely to take him because they don't have to pay him.
They're not paying him. anything.
Nobody's. Why would any team want him on the roster?
I think
Even at minimum
For
salary.
the same reason the Browns wanted Jameis.
Not at
Winston.
this point, though.
No. Why is the backup?
But
The way-
Jameis is not Jameis. Deshaun has been the worst quarterback in the league the last 3 years. Jameis wasn't that bad.
Number one, it's
and Jameis
not-
is not a problem off the field.
number one, it's not a sure thing he's ready week one.
Nope.
Number two, what he put on tape this year was so bad. It
Yeah.
was so bad that I don't know. I'm with Bull. I don't know that another team. It's not worth the PR hit
Even for the minimum salary.
and the drama. And
It's one thing to bring him in when he's a star.
These
Yeah.
are really small circles in pro sports. Like they really are. And the NFL is a little bit bigger of a community because the rosters are bigger and the sports staff's bigger. But these are still tight circles. Everybody talks.
And
Everybody,
Jay-
everybody knows everybody else's business, and everybody knows what's been going on.
We've
here.
talked about the fact that this is the worst transaction in the NFL and maybe in the history
Ever.
of sports.
Ever.
I agree. I'm with you. I think it's the worst transaction, any team, any sport, period.
Yeah.
The baggage that he carries is he is the guy that imploded an organization.
Absolutely.
Imploded. Why would you bring him in to your team?
No.
That's why but if from his perspective, he is like, I'm sure he's going to want to, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I would imagine being a competitor, he would want to come back and have a place somewhere on this team.
Yeah.
But he did go home willingly to Houston. I think that's why I'm saying this has already happened once before with him. Houston sent him home. Like when all the allegations came out and everything, and he had filed the trade request, they sent him home. So you still have to carry him on the roster. You still have to pay him, but he's out of the building. He's not a distraction. And I just think, if it's me, I think that's where we're headed with this thing again. Is you have to
Now,
carry him,
the difference-
you have to pay him, but send him
The
home.
difference between Houston and Cleveland is Houston used him as a chip to build a playoff contending
Yeah.
team. We can't do that.
No.
Well, I've said this before. Yeah, it didn't work out. You gave up the picks. He got the money. But the worst thing that you can do is sit here and not make no decisions. You got to make some decisions on what it's going to be. Because if not, the offseason is coming. And we know how it goes. Are you going to have articles like this every week? We gonna do this every week about whether or not he's going to compete for the job, or is he coming back? And think about how exciting that is for your fan base. Oh, so we got Jameis Winston. We still got Deshaun Watson who might compete. And we got DTR. We don't even know he's good. That is not attainable. And then you still have to figure out, how am I going to get upgrade a quarterback? What am I going to do? Listen, I always talk about the 49ers. The Trey Lance contract was agreed. What they did to get him, they gave 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And he got in the building, and they realized he couldn't even play after 1 year. And you know what they did? They said, listen, we can sit here and cry about it. Shanahan went to the front office and said, hey, John, we got to get this
They got
out.
lucky.
And they got lucky.
Yeah,
got
but they
lucky.
didn't. He wasn't owed money.
But
he didn't have
Yeah,
baggage.
that's the huge
Correct.
difference
That's the
between the
difference
two.
is the money. But
And the baggage.
But they identified it and they made the move.
Yeah, but again, to back up Bull's point, they didn't have a $235 million anvil hanging over their head. With
So
it.
what are you gonna do?
Like, I look at what Denver did. Now, what Denver did took guts.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Denver ate the bullet and said, he's not going to be that guy here.
And drafted
We're
a
going to get
rookie.
rid of him. They drafted a rookie, but
That a lot of people didn't think was going to be all that.
Okay.
No,
so
you're
then
right.
There's 2 blueprints where teams were like, listen, when you make a mistake, the worst thing you could do is
Move on from it.
The worst thing you do is compound it by sitting around hoping it'll get better. It's not.
But-
I'm with Zach. Zach is right. But I have to think that for my sanity.
Oh, what, Bull Red?
Yes.
Yeah.
What he's basically saying is, without saying it, and I don't want to put words in Zach's mouth, but he basically said, yeah, I know there's a report that's been out there recently from Mary Kay, and you can believe that if you want, but this is what's happening. I'm betting on Zach being right because Zach also happens to be in line with Nathan, who was part of Browns media, who pretty definitively said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I'm just telling you, I've not gotten one impression from anybody in that building that Deshaun will be the quarterback next year. From the moment he went down, it's been pretty consistent that
that would be the most insane thing.
We got to figure something else
out. That's
out.
why I said that for me, it's
and they don't have the solution yet. Like, it's still in season. They don't know where they're picking.
Right.
You know, like, they don't have an answer right now. I know you keep
by
saying
the way,
you gotta
for
have a
those
solution. They don't have one right now.
No, here for me, I even go back to just the health. All right, Deshaun Watson has had 2 ACLs. Mm-hmm. He's had shoulder injury, and the shoulder didn't look like he was coming back throwing rifles.
And now the Achilles.
And now the Achilles, and we said he lost a step anyway. So now you got an Achilles, a shoulder, knees, and like you haven't played in spot duty. You played 5 games last year.
He hasn't played a full season.
I'd
in
rather
4 years.
anybody be the quarterback than Deshaun Watson next year. Anybody, literally anybody that is in the NFL right now.
Boy, look how far we've come. Look at how far we've come.
Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Take him.
They can't even, like the best free agent, Sam Darnold, having a great season, they can't even, it's not like they can sign him because he's going to get paid legitimate money.
Danny DeVito.
Take it.
Tommy DeVito.
Take it. There's nobody. I'd start,
Baker Mayfield.
Of course. I'd start Tim Tebow over him.
Stop. You tripping? You in your bag?
We got 17 super chats.
Come on.
So let's dive into these to wrap up today's show. It's our most watched show in over 2 months. Shout out to the people for coming in droves today. First super chat comes from G. Bush's Bad Neck. Hey guys, I know that Stefanski is not who you guys believe in, but I do have to point out that he has not had a healthy, competent quarterback for the entire season except his first, and that first year he did pretty good.
That's a lot of
excuses.
A lot of gymnastics in that.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I said I wouldn't fire him, but there was a point where I would just defend against whatever anyone would say about firing him. You want to fire him? I can't put up an argument.
Yeah, you've lost the capital to defend him at this point.
But I'm just saying,
He's below 500.
I wouldn't fire him.
Most coaches that are there 5 years,
because you know what? Honestly, I think
gone.
You're better off waiting, being a year too late, because this ain't going anywhere.
No.
I'd rather be a year too late. I know what you guys are saying. Well, if he gets off to a bad start, you fire him. It's a lost year. It's a lost year anyway, more than likely.
Yeah.
I would rather be a year too late to that than a year too early and wind up losing 10 years from now with sitting around going, look at that. We had the guy the whole time. And didn't
well, you got to tell Myles Garrett that. And that might be.
I know.
Myles sounds like he's still all in here.
He actually does.
I mean, you got Joe Thomas Part 2.
Yeah, like
we got a future Hall of Famer that probably the best player at his position while he played.
We'll see.
And
has anybody?
Oh, wait a minute.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
Who was it that tweeted? Was it one of you guys that tweeted yesterday that Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett?
I don't tweet anymore, so it wasn't me.
Okay. Myles Garrett and Joe Thomas have combined for 1 playoff win in their careers.
That's why.
Lima tweeted that.
It's pitiful.
Throw in Nick Chubb.
Who did, Mike?
It was Lima.
Oh,
that's nasty
Throw in Nick
work.
Chubb. These are 3 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Nasty work.
Next super chat comes from Loverboy Charlie, who sent this in during Jay's instant shotgun reaction, who said, "We love you, Jay."
Love you too, Charlie.
Brody's bottom line says, Jay and Jason, do you guys get paid for talking about Deshaun every week?
We do.
Actually, they do.
They do actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it's their job.
As a matter of fact, so does
their
G.
job,
Bush. So does Bull. So
Yeah.
does G. Bush's bad neck.
And my bad knee and bad back.
I don't know about you. I got a $10 bonus every time I mention his name. How about you?
Just 10? I'm up to 12.
Hey, Jay got that,
If that was
super bag.
You know what's funny? Somebody's watching this show. Somebody is watching the show and decided that they were going to send us money to say, what's wrong with you guys? Why do you always bring up Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
That's the best part of the internet. I love that.
God.
I love the world.
I think it's funny that they only brought up you guys.
Yeah, look at we all take shots.
By the way, the great part is they pay money to ridicule you personally.
Yeah.
You're like your outfit is trash today in bull shoes or
The real answer would have been this. If I was on my game, I would have said, yes, we do get paid to talk about Deshaun Watson, and you pay to talk on our show.
there you go.
Keep watching and keep
We
sending
love
the
you.
checks.
We love you.
Next one comes from Michael Ribovich, who says, I only pay for YouTube TV because of football. The Browns owe me a refund because this isn't pro football that I'm watching.
Ooh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Next one comes from Dank Nasty Ass Master.
Yeah, Tank Nasty.
There he is.
Where's he been? We haven't heard from him in a while.
I don't know. I had to fly through that one because we got some
What? I
kids
didn't hear.
in here.
I didn't hear
I
his
call
tweet.
him D-Nam.
Yeah, he's D-Nam today.
Yeah.
Illegal man downfield on a kicking team. Browns literally inventing new penalties to commit. Shaking my head.
I know. When I heard that, I thought, how can anybody be illegal downfield?
I was just so confused. I was just like, why us?
That was the Jacksonville game, week 2.
I know, but I mean, when they said offsides, I'm like, offsides. Nobody moves.
Remember the holding penalty when Deshaun Watson threw that 90-yard pass to like Amari Cooper, and I was just like,
Oh yeah,
Against the Raiders.
that came back too.
Happens.
Yeah.
DB Dog 21 says Stefanski should not be fired until he's given a chance to get his quarterback to run his offense. They drafted DTR, but I think that was because Deshaun was the starter. Let Stefanski try to turn it around, then it'll be different.
Okay.
I wouldn't even be mad at. There is a side of me that says, if you're a head coach, why can't I pick the quarterback?
Just like Justin. Just like Jason says, I understand if you fire him. I think you and I are the same. Like, I think he should be fired, but if they don't, I'm not going to go crazy.
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
not.
No. Yeah.
It's not. There are
'Cause I'm on the fence about
There are
it.
valid reasons to say no, he shouldn't be fired, and that's one of them.
Anthony Womack says winning organizations have a legit quarterback for consistency. We have yet to have that here, but everyone wants to blame and fire the coach. Loverboy Charlie also says, what if the Browns trade up for Shador and hire Coach Prime?
That would be a Browns thing to do.
Deion would never work for Jimmy Haslam.
Ever.
And he would never allow his son in that building.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I told you.
But Deion did clap back at the reports that he
Yeah.
was not.
Hey,
Okay.
listen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I told you. I told people. They
Tells
laughed.
you they're true.
They laughed at me. I said, when the beginning of the season, I said, listen, stop talking about it. It's not going to happen.
Do we think Shador Sanders is really going to be?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't
We
know.
don't know.
He's going to go to the Raiders. I'm telling you, it's a match.
He's a
made in
Raiders
heaven.
kind of pick.
It's
They were at the Raiders game.
Al would draft him. I know that.
Todd
He's-
Marinovich.
They're going 1-2. Are we? Do we? The quarterbacks are going 1-2.
They
Cam
always
Ward
do.
and Sanders are
They're
going
the
1-2.
shiny objects. They always
They're
do.
going 1-2.
Unless the Patriots somehow end up with the first pick, then they take Travis Hunter. Because they took Drake May last year.
No, they just
And
trade
I
down.
like Drake
but they could
May.
trade
I
down.
know that he hasn't done anything yet, but I think there's something there with Drake May.
Of the
He's
four
good.
of the four rookie quarterbacks that have played this year, they've all shown signs of being.
Yeah.
Now you got to back it up. C.J. Stroud, great rookie year. He's been okay second year.
Yeah.
Got to back it up when teams adjust. But all four that have played
Remember Trevor Lawrence?
have looked at have looked at different levels of.
Is
of
Bryce
good.
Young good again?
He did not look good yesterday.
Didn't look terrible yesterday, but I gotta tell you, I watched
He's
the end of
been
that
better.
Tampa game. He looked great.
I would
against-
not give up on him if I were them.
I hope they
They
give
put
up
him
on
in a
him.
terrible
I
situation.
don't think
you're
they're
right.
going to.
Bad
hope they
coaching,
give up.
terrible talent.
But you want him here, don't
I
you?
hope they give
I don't
up.
want a 5'10" quarterback.
I don't either.
We got a
But-
bunch more, so let me keep flying through these. Next up comes from. It's frozen on me. Next one comes from Derek Waldmiller, who says, I'm 24 years old and a Browns fan from Buffalo, and for the first time in my life, I'm fed up and potentially done considering switching to the Bills.
Bro's 24.
Dude, you
Right in that sweet spot I was talking about earlier.
I hear you. I also have no sympathy for young fans because they haven't suffered long
I've
enough.
got another super chat.
Actually,
Hi, this is JC Dankmaster Assmaster Part 2. I'm 59, and for the first time in my life, I'm considering joining the Bills Mafia.
Young people have suffered enough. Tuition is crazy. They're not going to get good jobs.
Yeah.
Social Security is non-existent.
They can't afford a home.
They can't afford a home.
So don't sign up for more misery by the teams you root for.
They're in depression because of COVID. Guys didn't even have a senior year. They're really messed up.
My
right now.
nephew, who's a Yankee fan, was like all depressed when the Juan Soto signed with the Mets.
shut up.
And I said, listen,
thing.
I said to him, this is good for you. You need to be toughened up a little
Yeah,
bit.
this is a life lesson.
The
Sounds like something right off
the
The
Yankees
Sopranos.
have spoiled
This is good for you. Think of it this
You know,
way.
I
that's a good
grew up
message.
for
Good message.
bad teams. You got to learn to pay your dues.
Ask him if he's ever heard of Frank Duffy.
All right, next
you'd have to be
super
my
chat.
age to understand that.
Comes from Charles T, who says Stefanski has a unique skill set that you have to have in Cleveland with Haslam. Flexibility. Like G said, he minimizes bad in most quarterbacks. 2, he's level-headed in chaos. And 3, he has the respect of the NFL coaches and players.
What does he minimize bad? Jameis has thrown a ton of picks. Joe Flacco, while exciting, and threw touchdowns like Jameis, threw a higher percentage of picks than he ever has in his career, and Deshaun Watson plays like a scared cat. So,
I asked somebody yesterday why last year Flacco would throw an interception and it didn't seem like that big of a deal, and this year every Jameis interception feels like it's devastating. And the response was, well, we were playing a lot better last year, winning a lot more games.
Well, the defense was lights out.
And there was this confidence that if Joe threw a pick, we were going to score on the next possession.
Right.
And they don't have that confidence now.
Yeah, it's well when you, and plus I think when Deshaun Watson got injured, everybody thought like it was a situation where the season was done, and you get that boost of hope, like, oh wow,
They were winning.
we're winning, wow. And
Jay just said before, why should I do my part when I know the other guys? Well, last year they were all doing their part.
yeah,
Winning breeds winning.
So, and
Losing
that's,
breeds losing.
that's why. That was part of it. And the defense was great last year for the most part till the end of the season, whereas this year's defense has been up and down and overall kind of average.
Charles T also says, whose idea was it to blow up staff for this staff?
Really dumb.
Callahan told his son he loved Cleveland and wasn't leaving to join him. Then he did. He was the yin to Steph's yang.
yeah, that running game.
I can't kill the Browns. The one thing I can't kill the Browns is for
I would
letting
have.
Brian Callahan
I
go.
would have had this. I would have had.
Or
I would
Bill
have. I
Callahan.
would have gave him anything he wanted.
Stay tuned. We're working on that.
I would.
Interesting.
I would have
You're
gave
working
him.
on a story as to how he got away.
Yeah.
Or
Now, by the way, the Titans
anything you
offense.
can tease us with now, details-wise? Or
There was a point where he thought he was staying, and then he changed his mind.
No kidding.
Man, that is wild.
Did it have anything to do with the other assistant coaches getting dismissed?
I'll tell you in March.
I'm onto
don't get
something.
Jason
And that is the
February.
Now, to
rest.
be fair, the Titans'
story.
offense is a disaster.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
One of
Armac-
the worst
not
in the
good.
league.
The next two super chats are tied to each other, so I'm going to read them both. Armac Dog says, happy holidays, UCSS panelists, producers, Cleveland fans. Really appreciate what you guys do to keep us informed.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
You
you,
too.
Armac Dog.
Appreciate
he
you.
says, who's in your quarterback room next year? My wish list includes Kirk Cousins and Curtis Rourke out of Indiana. And Darryl Green says, please no Kirk Cousins, please.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kirk Cousins
it
is the
won't-
only person in the NFL with more picks than Baker.
It won't be Kirk
And I don't want. Last, I think 4 or 5 weeks, he's thrown no touchdowns, 8 picks.
Yeah, he's in a funk.
Looks like he's shot.
I said last week, and Mike's probably right. Mike said this doesn't fit Kevin, but I'd like to see Justin Fields, but I think Pittsburgh's probably going to hold on to him.
Do you?
I think so.
I was hoping for.
There's
Anthony.
nobody they can get that's going to turn it around.
And
next
for a
year.
while, I thought they was going to be stupid, and Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young. I would have hoped that they. gave
Anthony
up-
Richardson's awful.
I know.
He is awful.
In-
Oh my
Indy's
God.
not moving on from him.
But they're not going to move on. I would take him. It's hard to. There is no young potential guy where you can hope and dream. It's
The reclamation projects are drying up because
Yes.
Richardson seems to be staying in Indy. Bryce Young looks like he's
Yeah,
probably
the
staying
one
in
guy I
Carolina.
can think of. I
Trey
don't.
Lance.
No,
Hey, look, I ain't seen him play that much.
he's not. He can't even. They're not even letting him play over Cooper Rush.
Yeah, that's
Cooper
a
played
problem.
good yesterday.
He did play well yesterday.
What about J.J. McCarthy if the Vikings decide to commit
I told
to
you
Darnold?
that.
Why?
That was
why
my
would,
sleeper pick.
But why would they move on? They haven't
Why?
even seen
They
him.
ain't seen him.
If they signed Darnold.
If they sign Darnold,
No, that's a first round pick.
listen, I'm not saying these things are likely. I'm throwing some possibilities out
No,
there.
it's a fair
That's-
name to
that's
throw
my
out there
favorite
because
choice.
if they decide that Darnold is the answer moving forward and they sign him to a longer term deal,
Yeah.
then are you going to do what Green Bay does and keep a first round pick on the bench for 4 years?
Right. That's it. I don't know.
Just
Very
Hey,
few teams
here's
have
what-
done that.
Hey, we got-
Green Bay,
hey-
by the way, has had great success with that on 2 different occasions.
We got 5 more, then we got to run upstairs to talk with the high school kids. We're going to fly through these
Okay.
last 5. We ended up with 20 super chats, which is the most we've had in forever. Charles T says, gee, being military and DOD for over 20 years and leading men, you learn balance is best. Often you have a CO that's an a-hole and an XO that's a cool guy. It works. Leaders
Yeah.
learn better
Good
together
cop, bad
every
cop.
day.
I agree
Yep,
with that.
I agree.
Charles also says, worst thing about Jameis INTs, it opens the door again for Watson.
Facts.
No.
no.
Our Mac
Hey.
Dog says, do you guys agree that using free agency to acquire a quarterback like Fields or Kirk Cousins to replace DTR is the best bet? That way we can use the draft for a receiver, running back, or lineman.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it got me to thinking. A couple weeks ago, we went through the list of quarterbacks that will be free agents after the season. It's very underwhelming. What are the examples of free agent quarterbacks that have moved and gone to a Super Bowl?
free agent?
Yes.
I mean, like you had Stafford in a trade, but
No, they were both traded for
I don't
one
think
another.
there's any
Well,
that I
the
can-
best quarterbacks don't typically
Steve
leave.
Young?
Brady.
Well, that's my
Here's,
point.
here's
Yeah,
what
Tom Brady.
Oh, Brady, yeah,
my point is, well, Brady was
At the
different.
end.
Brady
Yeah, yeah.
wanted out. Brady
Yeah,
was
it was
going to
at the
go.
end.
He was leaving on his
Was
own.
Steve Young a free agent when he went to the Niners?
No,
'Cause he had been in Tampa.
He actually was drafted in the USFL.
Yes.
No, but he played in
And
Tampa.
then came to the Buccaneers.
Right.
I don't know if
No,
his-
he got traded because actually he was on a podcast last week and he talked about that. He was traded.
Yeah,
he
I
was
don't
gonna
know
be
that
traded
there's-
to the Rams, and he told them no, and then they traded him to San Francisco.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is because I don't know that it's ever happened. Why?
I'll look
Because
it up
they're
for
the
tomorrow.
commodity, and when you have a commodity, you don't let them
I
go.
would actually. I will tell you why I would take Kirk Cousins, but I can't tell you right now because
He's not a free agent either. You'd have to trade for
I'd
him.
trade-
What about Kurt Warner when he left the Rams?
I trade for him.
Was he a free agent and he went to the Cardinals?
And,
I think he was in the Giants.
and hot take big
May have been. I don't know.
So, yeah, he was a free agent.
We got
Okay.
two more.
they'll draft a quarterback in the second round.
I don't think you
Two
only
more.
draft a quarterback if you think there's a guy worth it. You don't draft a quarterback just to draft a
Well, they're gonna
quarterback.
do that.
Two more. Charles T said, imagine if Watson was good with Busby being exposed last week as an extortion artist by CBS News and Jay-Z. We would be set. And last one comes from Christopher Waits. This made me laugh. Watching old UCSS clips from 2022 when you guys all love the Watson and trash Baker nonstop, basically called him a football terrorist. It gives me so much joy.
wait.
You guys
Jay
deserve this.
Jay
Jeez, don't
always
let
liked
me in
Baker.
with that.
I was going to say, Jay's the biggest Baker bro of all time.
What
Like,
you talking
Yeah.
about?
I hated the Deshaun move
I
from
know,
jump.
that's why I laughed at
and
this.
I said it's going to come back to haunt us. That Baker's going to go on and play winning football, and that Deshaun Watson's going to wreck this franchise. Tell me
All right,
where I was wrong.
We got to run. We'll see you tomorrow on UCSS. Peace.
Peace.